A very good evening to all my dear students. Welcome to today's session, which is the sixth session for chapter number 9, Audit of Items of Financial Statement. So today is the last session for this chapter, right? And student, before starting the session, I would like to inform you all that I have already uploaded the descriptive type questions, MCQ questions, the multiple choice questions, and the case scenario along with the answers with respect to chapter number 9. I hope you all have downloaded them. And I can see Jash, Dhyanesh, Khushi, Kashif, Priyanka, Harshita, Alok, Aman, Ramnivas, Chakshu, Gomati all have already joined. So students, I'm doing very well. And I hope the same for you also. And Dhyanesh is saying, ma'am, I have done the homework which is given by you. So that's good. I expect the same for the others also, that others have also done the homework as was given to you. So what was the homework? What we have done in the last session? Let us quickly have a look from the module. So in the module till page number 9.92, we have covered all the topics in entirety, including the additional regulatory information, including the disclosure requirements, each and everything we all have done, right? Further, I've asked you to go through the module till page number 9.92, and in case of any doubt, you can always send in your queries. So students, if you have any queries relating to these topics, please send in your doubts, right? And students, as I've told you that your understanding of chapter number 9 is going to help you a lot with respect to chapter number 10 also. Right? Why? Because whatever additional regulatory information you are understanding in this chapter, you will see that in chapter number 10, the auditor will be verifying all that requirement under CARU 2020, right? With some exceptions, we will see that in the next session, which will be the session for chapter number 10, right? Now, let me just for a moment have a look at the query, if there is any. So, Danish, please specify your query again. It is not, it is not you. Please elaborate on your query. Okay? What you exactly want to know. I'll definitely take up your query as and when you'll send it. So today we'll be starting with the topic for today, which is the verification with respect to various assertion of employee benefit expenses. Now, students, tell me what in your understanding will be included in employee benefit expenses. Please do not look at the module. Just give your answers by applying your mind. What all will be included? Will it include only the salaries, or will it include certain expenses relating to the hiring, the welfare training of the employees, or will it also include the expenses related to various perquisites, benefits that are given to the employees, let's say in the form of the gratuity or some post-employment benefits in the form of gratuity, superannuation, leave encashment. Quickly tell me what in your understanding will be included in employee benefit expenses. So I'm waiting for your replies. So Soumya is saying, ma'am, salary will be included, PF will be included. Alok is saying PF, Soumya is saying wages, then compensation, Khojema is saying, Jash is saying, ma'am, insurance, also Dhyanesh, Priyanka is saying travel expenses, Alok is saying training. So students, see, the employee benefit expense, the expenses that has been incurred by a company with respect to the benefit of the employees of that company are what employee benefit expense, right? So anything, any consideration that is paid to the employees for their labor, for their efforts, the salaries, that will be included in employee benefit expense, right? Then any associated expense like the perquisites, the benefits, or some post-employment benefits like gratuity, superannuation, right? Perquisites benefits may like the mediclaim, the medical reimbursement that is given. the reimbursement of any, let's say, newspaper, magazine, everything will come, right? And the expenditure towards the hiring, welfare, and training of the employees, everything will constitute what? Employee benefit expense. So an employee benefit expense, it can constitute a major chunk of the expense of an organization, right? So an auditor has to verify the various assertions with respect to the employee benefit expenses that has been incurred by the company, right? Now tell me what all comes to your mind, Hannah. As I always ask you to think logically, to apply your minds and try to draft the answer by your own. Now tell me, if you are in a situation like, if I give you a case study that you are one of the auditing members and you are conducting the audit of XYZ Limited, right? Now you are verifying the employee benefit expense, or let's say the salaries given by XYZ Limited during the year under audit. Tell me what all documents come to your mind, है ना? आपको क्या लगता है कौन-कौन से documents you are going to check? What all information you are going to obtain from the management of the company in order to verify the employee benefit expense of the organization ABC Limited and our case? Quickly tell me. Quickly, students, give me at least few documents. And you will see, you will be happy to see that you yourself will be able to, think about the correct documents. Because till here we have covered a number of items of financial statement, be it balance sheet items or be it the P&L item, Hana. So the flow will be the same now. So students are saying, so Priyanka has answered it absolutely correctly, that first of all we will check the internal control, Hana, which is absolutely correct. Then salary slip, okay. So I can say the salary slips of the employees or the various salary records, okay. Then attendance sheet, absolutely correct. Who is saying? Khojema, okay. Ayushi is saying salary slip. HR policy, Priyanka is saying HR policy. Payroll register, Gomathi Krishnan is saying. List of permanent contractual employees, Kanahia is saying, right? Trend analysis, again Priyanka is saying, which is absolutely correct, Hannah. So let us try to understand. So first of all, students, auditor he will obtain an understanding about the HR process. What are the appointment terms? What are the appraisal policy? What are the hiring policy? What are the termination policy? What are the training? Huh? He will obtain an understanding, right? And as we have done with respect to other expenses also, auditor will obtain what? An understanding about the internal control. Why? Because once auditor performs the test of control, he is in a position to decide his extent of what? Substantive testing, है ना? Substantive testing तो करना ही है. Be it substantive analytical procedure or the test test of details. So it depends upon the auditor's professional judgment and the assessed risk of material misstatement. Hana? So auditor will obtain an understanding of internal controls so as to decide the nature, timing, extent of the planned audit procedures. Simple. Okay? So auditor will obtain a clear understanding about the organization, its hiring, the appraisal policy, the retirement process. He'll test the internal control in order to see how effective it is. Why? Because it will decide his extent of substantive testing. What is substantive testing? When the auditor is performing what? Further audit procedures, right? And he's testing the financial statement. Remember, in order to see whether there is a material misstatement at the assertion level, he'll select, see, what can auditor, how can he understand the internal control now? Out of the number of salaries transaction that he is having, he may select a sample of transaction. And with respect to that sample, he may perform examination in depth. That is, he's checking the salary transaction with respect to a particular employee from the very beginning till the end. By performing this examination in depth, auditor will be able to know about whether the internal controls are operating effectively or not, right? And accordingly, he'll decide what the substantive audit procedures, which may be test of details or substantive analytical procedures. But substantive audit procedures तो होंगे ही होंगे. हाँ, टेस्ट ऑफ डिटेल करना है, सब्सटैंटिव एनालिटिकल प्रोसीजर्स करना है, और अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ बोथ. इट विल डिपेंड अपॉन द circumstances, the auditor's professional judgment, the assessed risk of material misstatement. Clear? ठीक है. Now, with respect to occurrence, completeness and measurement, है ना, अब जो आपने सब बोला ना कि अटेंडेंस शीट देखना है, ट्रेंड एनालिसिस करना है, वो ही सब करना है. ठीक है. Now tell me students, if I ask you that ठीक है, you are conducting the audit of ABC Limited, tell me if you have to check whether there are any fake employees, fictitious employees तो नहीं है, तो व्हाट इज द ऑडिट प्रोसीजर दैट कम्स टू योर माइंड? क्या करोगे अगर आपको ये देखना है कि कोई फेक एम्प्लॉइज के लिए जस्ट इन ऑर्डर टू इंक्रीज द सैलरी एक्सपेंस, ऐसे तो नहीं है फेक एक्सपेंसेस बुक किए हुए एन अकाउंट ऑफ फेक सैलरी एम्प्लॉइज. टेल मी व्हाट कम्स टू योर माइंड? आयुषी सिंह मैम ऑफर लेटर चेक करेंगे, विच इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. एनालिटिकल प्रोसीजर्स करेंगे, ध्यानेशी सिंह, विच इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट. ठीक है. नाउ माय नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू, फेक एम्प्लॉइज तो नहीं है, ये चेक करना है. फेक और फिक्टिशियस एम्प्लॉइज तो नहीं है, कैसे चेक करोगे? क्विकली टेल मी. ठीक है. फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन तो एसेट्स का होता है ना जश, है ना. सो यू कैन पर्सनली मीट द एम्प्लॉइज on a sample basis, है ना. या हम ये भी तो बोल सकते हैं ना, we may select a sample of the employees and we will ask the HR department to please provide us with what the various ID proofs with respect to those employees, है ना. So what are the audit procedures that the auditor will perform with respect to the occurrence, completeness and measurement assertion of what employees benefit expense? So he'll obtain an understanding of the entity's process of capturing the employee attendance. देखो first and foremost क्या है कि employees की attendance कैसे mark होती है. Why? Because there is always a risk कि fictitious employees तो नहीं है, तो उसको कैसे address करना है? He may meet employees in person on sample basis, or he may select a sample of employees and ask the payroll department, HR department, to provide with the details and ID proof of the employees. Just a minute. See, that is the reason why I don't share my notes with you. I don't know what I've written. Just a minute. Payroll department. Achha, these are what bank details. To provide the bank details and the ID proofs of the employees that are selected on a sample basis. ठीक है? Now, auditor will obtain a list of the employees from the management, which will be bifurcated as new hires during the year, the leavers, the persons who have resigned or who have been terminated, and the list of containing employees. Now we'll be studying about the various audit procedure with respect to new hires, with respect to the leavers, with respect to the containing employees. Tell me, new hires, what first document comes to your mind in order to verify whether the salaries with respect to the new appointees, new hires, new employees, whether that is appropriate or not? एक डॉक्यूमेंट बताओ क्विकली. ठीक है खोजेमा, दैट टेक अ लिस्ट फ्रॉम द मैनेजमेंट, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. हाँ आयुषी, सो ऑडिटर विल परफॉर्म ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स ना, सिर्फ एक आईडी प्रूफ नहीं लेना ना, बैंक डिटेल्स भी करना है. स्टिल ऑडिटर इज हैविंग अ डाउट, गो एंड मीट द एम्प्लॉय पर्सनली. ठीक है. सो द अपॉइंटमेंट लेटर, है ना, एंड ऑडिटर विल सी दैट व्हाटएवर terms are there which are mentioned in the appointment letter, whether the salary of the first month and the subsequent months also is given as per the appointment letter. ठीक है. So ये नहीं होना चाहिए that if the salary that has been decided is 50,000 per month, है ना. फर्स्ट मंथ में तो 50,000 पर मंथ दिया हुआ है एंड लेटर ऑन इट इज जस्ट 5,000. नो, दिस शुड नॉट हैपन. तो फर्स्ट मंथ एंड सब्सिक्वेंट मंथ का सैलरी वेदर इट इज एज पर द अपॉइंटमेंट लेटर, ऑडिटर इज गोइंग टू चेक दैट. ठीक है, तो ये तो हमारा हो गया न्यू हाई रिस्क के केस में. नाउ टेल मी द पर्सन हु हैव रिजाइंड द लीवर्स. बताओ इनके केस में कौन सा डॉक्यूमेंट आपके माइंड में आता है. तो आलोक, अरे सबने सही बताया है. आलोक ने भी अपॉइंटमेंट लेटर बोला था, ध्यानेश ने भी यही बोला था, चिताला ने भी यही बोला था, मिस्टर वोहरा ने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ जॉब बोला था विच इज व्हाट अपॉइंटमेंट लेटर ओनली. वर्षा, पीयूष, खुशी, खोजेवा, कन्हैया, चिताला, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. रामनिवास, करेक्ट. ठीक है, नाउ टेल मी. See, Priyanka is saying, ma'am, what procedure can be performed in order to see whether fake employees तो नहीं है. देखो, just try to understand, students, if there is, let's say, a total of 5,000 employees, है ना, using the software, auditor may select a sample of, let's say, 100 employees, है ना, and all those 100 employees, auditor will meet them personally, है ना. So auditor will be able to know whether out of 100 there are fake employees or not, है ना. See, the result of this 100 will be proportioned on this population of 5,000 na, and applying his professional judgment, applying the sampling techniques, auditor will be able to know whether fake employees हैं या नहीं. Same way, let's say another 100 sample के लिए auditor bank details, है ना, ID proof check कर ले, जहां पर doubt है उनसे personally भी meet कर ले, है ना. प्रियंका, whose doubt was it? हाँ प्रियंका, इज इट क्लियर नाउ? हाँ, ठीक है. नाउ माई डाउट टू यू वॉज रेजिग्नेशन के लिए, है ना. सो रेजिग्नेशन लेटर विच इज क्लियर, विच इज करेक्ट, प्लस द फुल एंड फाइनल कॉम्पिटिशन, F&F, है ना. तो when a person is leaving the organization, उसका full and final settlement होता है ना, and when that settlement has been done, that employee, the resigned employees is required to sign the acknowledgement कि I have received so and so amount. So auditor will consider that. Simple है, ठीक है. So with respect to the new hires, auditor will select a sample and appointment letter के check करना, and salary of first month and subsequent month should be as per the agreed terms. Auditor needs to consider that. रिजाइंड एम्प्लॉयज के लिए भी सैंपल लेना है, फुल एंड फाइनल कॉम्पिटिशन देखना है, वेरीफाई कि जितने भी ड्यूज थे ऑल ड्यूज हैव बीन पेड, एंड एम्प्लॉयज एक्नॉलेजमेंट ऑन फाइनल कॉम्पिटिशन. एक्नॉलेजमेंट क्या होता है कि साइंड, कि वी हैव अंडरस्टूड, वी हैव रिसीव्ड. ठीक है, एक्नॉलेजमेंट. मंथली, नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द कंटिन्यूइंग एम्प्लॉयज, है ना, तो उनके लिए क्या करेंगे. ऑडिटर विल ऑब्टेन व्हाट, सैलरी रजिस्टर. मेनी ऑफ यू हैव ऑलरेडी गिवन दिस आंसर्स कि सैलरी रजिस्टर देखना है ऑफ ऑल द 12 months. एंड स्टूडेंट्स, यू विल सी कि एक्सपेंसेस में ना, यू विल सी ऑब्टेन अ लिस्ट इज एवरीवेयर ऑलमोस्ट एक्सपेंसेस में. ठीक है, लिस्ट ऑफ ऑल एम्प्लॉइज, लिस्ट ऑफ ऑल ट्रैवलिंग एक्सपेंसेस, है ना. देन लिस्ट ऑफ ऑल इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसीज, आगे सब आएगा, है ना. देन रीजनेबिलिटी टेस्ट. रीजनेबिलिटी टेस्ट आपने कहाँ पढ़ा है, ऐसे 520 में, है ना. when you were doing what, analytical review procedures. तो auditor will perform what, reasonability. reasonability के क्या मतलब है कि average salary per employee अगर auditor calculate कर ले, है ना, कि मोटा मोटा सा सबको 40 to 50,000 के बीच में सैलरी मिलता है, and there are 5,000 employees, है ना, and whatever is the answer, auditor will compare it with the actual one, है ना, and he'll see कि reasonable है या नहीं, fair enough है या नहीं. ठीक है, सो ऑडिटर विल परफॉर्म रीजनेबिलिटी. ठीक है, नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, लेट्स से अकॉर्डिंग टू ऑडिटर 1 लाख सैलरी आनी चाहिए थी, बट एक्चुअल में 1,20,000 आना चाहिए. तो क्या ऑडिटर सीधा ऑडिट रिपोर्ट पे मेंशन कर देगा? नहीं, ऑडिटर विल डिस्कस द reason for the variance with the management. ठीक है, now student, this variance can be on account of various reasons, like it might be possible that during the year कुछ annual increments हुए, है ना, ड्यूरिंग द ईयर कुछ एनुअल इंक्रीमेंट्स हुए. लेट्स से ऑडिटर इज कंपेयरिंग द एवरेज सैलरी पर एम्प्लॉय एंड वट एवर रिजल्ट ही गॉट विद द इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफ द करंट पीरियड एंड द प्रीवियस ईयर. ठीक है, अब देर इज सर्टेन वेरिएंस. तो ऐसा हो सकता है ना, लास्ट ईयर में एनुअल इंक्रीमेंट नहीं हुआ था, दिस ईयर certain the percentage of annual increment is more, right? This year certain bonus have been given, है ना? Or it might be possible that a senior employee who was taking a huge salary, either he has left the organization, तो salary कम हो जाएगी, or a person has joined the organization, तो वो salary बढ़ जाएगी. So basically the gist is that the auditor needs to consider what are the reasons for the variances, है ना? He'll discuss this with the management. Further, you all know that with respect to various employee benefit expense like your bonus, gratuity, leave encashment, है ना? Provision needs to be made. So whether that has been made or not, right? With respect to the various statutory dues, employee statutory dues like your PF, your employee state insurance, ESI, again he'll perform what? Reasonability. तो reasonability क्या होता है कि basic wage rate इतना है, ठीक है, पीएफ का परसेंटेज इतना है, टोटल नंबर ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज इतना है, इसको मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे, आंसर शुड बी दिस. ही विल कंपेयर इट विद द एक्चुअल. कुछ वेरिएंस है, मैनेजमेंट से डिस्कस करेंगे. क्लियर? ठीक है. सी एंड सिंस द स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज आर पेड बाय फिलिंग सम चालान, सो ही विल also verify it with the challan copies. Simple. Auditor will perform what? Analytical review procedures in terms of SFI 20, like overall reasonableness. कि अगर 10,000 employees है, everyone is getting 200 से लेके let's say 300 की range में, so 250 on an average salary मिल रहा है. So what is the total? Whether it is reasonable or not, है ना? And auditor will perform what? Production per employee analysis. ठीक है. So total units produced. What are the total units produced? What are the total number of employees? And he'll see the units produced per employee. है ना? Compare them with the industry trends or the previous year. And again, in case of any reason, auditor will compare it with the. He'll discuss it with the management. Clear? Simple है? कोई doubt है? Yes, appointment letter में तो salary information होता ही है ना, Mr. Sahu. ठीक है. Is it clear? And the last is with respect to disclosure requirements given by Schedule 3 Part 2 to the Companies Act 2013. ठीक है. So पहले let us have a look at what is given in your module, and then we will move on toward the disclosures. So employee benefit expense, also known as what? Payroll expenses. It represents an aggregates of what? An entity pays its consideration to employees for their labor efforts along with the associated expenses like perquisites, benefits or post-employment benefits like gratuity, superannuation, leave encashment, provident fund, as well as towards the hiring, welfare, training. Employee benefit expense is the biggest expense category in many industries, and hence it is critical for businesses to manage this expense. ठीक है? So what an auditor needs to have, he needs to obtain a clear understanding about the organization, its hiring, appraisal, retirement. ठीक है? So ये तो अब आपको simple लगता होगा ना कि test of control करने हैं. Why? In order to know whether what will be the extent of substantive testing. ठीक है? So test of control, internal control क्या क्या आ जाएंगे? अच्छा, tell me, I forgot to ask you this question. Tell me what all internal controls. अब आप auditor मत बनो, अब आप management बन जाओ. So tell me with respect to the employee benefit expense, है ना? So that they do not contain any material misstatement whether due to fraud and error. बताओ क्या क्या internal control implement करोगे? यही सब करोगे ना? That attendance record जो properly हो रही है, ठीक है, मंथली पेरोल जो है वो ऑथराइज है, अप्रूव है या नहीं, है ना? देन एम्प्लॉय डिडक्शंस जो हैं इन फॉर्म ऑफ ग्रेचुटी, लीव इनकैशमेंट, वेदर ये कंप्यूट प्रॉपरली हो रहा है या नहीं. ठीक है. ऑथराइजेशन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू डिसबर्समेंट ऑफ व्हाट? द सैलरीज. ठीक है. So auditor will check a random selection of transaction and examine the appointment letter, appraisal, attendance, HR, employee. So basically he'll perform what? Examination in depth here, na? ठीक है. Then accordingly he'll perform his what? Substantive audit procedure is must, है ना? ये तो अब आपको पता ही है. ठीक है. And substantive analytical procedure with consist of what? Monthly reasonability comparison with the previous accounting period, है ना? एंड एक्सपेक्टेशंस को एक्चुअल से कंपेयर करना, ओवरऑल ट्रेंड से देखना इंडस्ट्री में और लास्ट ईयर से, सिंपल. नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द वेरियस असर्शंस लाइक ऑकरेंस, कंप्लीटनेस, मेजरमेंट. तो देखो, लॉजिकली सोचो. सबसे पहले आपको देखना है कि क्या प्रोसेस है ऑफ रिकॉर्डिंग व्हाट अटेंडेंस, है ना. व्हाई? बिकॉज देयर इज कैन बी अ रिस्क ऑफ फिक्टिशियस एम्प्लॉइज. अब वो कैसे एड्रेस करना है, या तो आप मीट कर लो सैंपल बेसिस पे, और फर्दर ऑडिटर में चूज टू सी अ सैंपल ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज, select a sample of employees and ask the payroll department to share their bank details, ID proofs of the employees. Clear? ठीक है. देन लिस्ट ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज, जिसमें आप क्या देखोगे, कौन से न्यू हायर्स हैं, कौन से लीवर्स हैं, कौन से कंटिन्यूइंग एम्प्लॉइज है. अब न्यू हायर्स के लिए क्या पॉइंट है, he will for a sample selected randomly of new hires obtain appointment letter whether the salary for first month and subsequent months were processed as per the agreed terms. For a sample of selected randomly of resigned employees, है ना, full and final settlement computation, their dues including post-retirement, gratuity, leave-in encashment, whether this has been paid or not, and whether the respective employees acknowledgement on final computation has been obtained. ठीक है. With respect to the continuing employees, ठीक है, obtain the monthly salary register for all 12 months, है ना. Compile the monthly payroll reasonability by calculating the average salary per employee per month, compare it with the previous year, and what are the reasons, है ना. It may be annual increment or any senior level joining or leaving or the bonus payout. Simple है. Whether provision has been done made with respect to employee benefits, obligations like bonus, gratuity, leave encashment, PF, ESI के लिए क्या करना है, आप reasonability करो, ठीक है, एंड आप रीजंस को वेरीफाई करो, एंड मंथली डिपॉजिट चलान्स को कंसीडर करो. एनालिटिकल रिव्यू प्रोसीजर्स क्या क्या हो सकते हैं, रीजनेबलनेस ऑफ एम्प्लॉय बेनिफिट एक्सपेंस हो सकता है, एंड देन यू मे कंपेयर द यूनिट्स प्रोड्यूस पर एम्प्लॉय, कंपेयर देम विद द प्रीवियस ईयर एंड द प्रेजेंट इंडस्ट्री ट्रेंड्स. कोई वेरिएशंस हैं तो मैनेजमेंट से डिस्कस करो. क्लियर? नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट्स, शेड्यूल 3 Part 2 to the Companies Act have made the following. So disclosure shall be made as whether employee benefit expense has been classified as salaries and wages, contributions to provident and other funds, and staff welfare expenses. So this is a P&L item, so that is why I mentioned it as part 2. ठीक है. So tell me, is it clear? Easy है. जैसे आपने एम्प्लॉय बेनिफिट एक्सपेंस किया ना, नाउ यू विल सी दैट वेरियस एक्सपेंसेस दैट विल बी कवरिंग टुडे और दैट यू मे गेट इन योर एग्जाम, दो वी मे नॉट हैव डन दैट. सो एक्सपेंसेस का सेम ही रहेगा कि लिस्ट लो, ऑल 12 मंथ्स के लिए चेक करो, कुछ फेक तो नहीं है ना. एंड व्हाट यू विल यू सी दैट रीजनेबिलिटी आ जाएगा, ARP आ जाएगा, है ना. सो ऑल दैट विल कम. क्विकली सेंड इन योर रिप्लाईज. क्लियर है? So our next topic is with respect to depreciation and amortization, which though we have discussed a little bit when we were doing the verification with respect to various assertions of PPE and intangible assets. ठीक है. So Manisha, Ben, Dhyanesh, Priyanka, Alok are saying ma'am clear है. So that is good. Students, ये तो chapter है ना, तो sometimes students leave this chapter thinking that it is a technical chapter, thinking that it is a lengthy chapter. Tell me whether you are finding this chapter easy to understand and to remember for your exams. So Mr. Prudvi, I'll explain everything. I'll repeat everything in English. If ever, like if I've used Hindi, I'll definitely repeat that thing in English. So tell me whether you are able to understand and remember also, or you are able to get confidence in this chapter. So you may get a question ranging from 10 to 20 marks. Hana? So very important chapter. And why? See, students, as I've always tell you that your understanding of accounts, your understanding of law, that you will be obtaining in the respective papers, that you already have. Further, your understanding of the various essays that you have done so far till chapter number 8. है ना, वो ही सब, that only we are going to use in this chapter, है ना. So I'll repeat here again, do not go after just remembering only the general points, है ना, because you have already known, you already know as to what is to be written, है ना. Once or twice you give a thorough reading this to this chapter, I'm sure this chapter is prepared for your exams, है ना. You, there will not be any need for you to cram anything as such, because आपने accounts में, आपने law में already किया है, या we have done that in the essays that we have covered so far. And if any of the topics is there which you haven't done in accounts or law, so in the sessions for this chapter we have discussed that topic, है ना. So nothing as such, you know, difficult in this chapter. This is a lengthy chapter, accept it, but very easy, very scoring and important also for your exams. ठीक है. Yes, lengthy तो है Varsha, as I've told you, but very easy and scoring. So Jash, with respect to what you are getting wrong answers, so Jash is saying, ma'am, I'm understanding the concepts, but I'm getting many answers wrong. I'm getting confused. What to do about it? So where are you getting the wrong answers? I always tell you, देखो MCQs, case scenarios and true false, है ना. So 30 plus 14, 44 marks तो आपके यही हो जाते हैं, है ना. So auditing में marks लाना is very easy. Proper, the thing that is required is go for a smart work, है ना. अब MCQs में क्यों कंफ्यूज होते हो, उसको ठीक से रीड करो ना. I always tell you that the main line of the MCQ, whether it is asking for what is correct or not correct, that also you need to read properly, है ना. Give a, you know, patient reading to that question. Don't read the MCQs or true false in hurry. धीरे धीरे से if you will read, since you have read the entire module, see, जो भी आपका MCQ आएगा, true false आएगा, anything that you are going to get will be out of this book only, ना, है ना. And even if you get anything which maybe you might not have done, but still, since you have done your accounts, your law, the various essays, I'm sure you will be able to answer with respect to this chapter, हाँ. तो confusion किस बात का है? Yes, Priyanka is saying, ma'am, each and every topic is interconnected. Absolutely correct. यू डिड इन्वेंट्री का एग्जिस्टेंस कंडीशन कैसे करना है 501 में, है ना. अब वो इन्वेंट्री वेरिफिकेशन में यहीं पे वही तो सब लग रहा है. एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन ऐसे 505 में किया था आपने, लोन का एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन किया, डेटर्स का किया, क्रेडिटर्स का किया, सेल्स परचेजेस में सेम आया, तो सब जगह ही तो सेम लग रहा है ना. So Priyanka is saying, ma'am, all we need to do is put some efforts on our own by taking a thorough reading after the session, which is absolutely correct. ठीक है. So students, it is my endeavor to make this chapter easy to understand for all of you. हाँ देखो, remembering part, how to learn something that if like there is a need for you to learn, so for that तो you will have to make some efforts ना. ठीक है. Now, with respect to the next chapter for today, which is what depreciation and amortization expenses. So we have done this in quite detail when we were doing what the verification with respect to PPE and the verification with respect to intangible assets. Okay. So see, based on the approval basis of accounting, Hana, so much of the cost of the asset that has been used, that should be charged to the P&L so as to give a correct picture of the profit or loss that has happened during the year. So what is depreciation? It is the systematic allocation of the depreciable value of PPE, Hana, over its useful life. And same way, what is amortization? So it represents a systematic allocation of the depreciable amount of the intangible asset over its useful life. ठीक है. So depreciation, amortization जो है, the company should charge it to the P&L. ठीक है. Now again, imagine yourself in a situation जहां पर you are conducting the audit of XYZ Limited. You have a PP schedule, intangible asset schedule in front of you, and you are verifying the depreciation, the amortization expense. ठीक है. तो पहले तो मेरे को बताओ depreciation के लिए what all provisions comes to your mind. कौन सा accounting standard आता है depreciation के लिए, बताओ पहले. Quickly tell me. Depreciation के लिए students, I am waiting for your replies. So Dhyanesh is saying, ma'am, which method has been taken? ठीक है. So AS10, ठीक है. देखो, AS10 with respect to your PPE, AS26 with respect to intangible assets, Schedule 2 to the Companies Act with respect to what? The useful life of assets. ठीक है, ये सब देखना है. फर्दर आपको क्या देखना है, सिंस डेप्रिसिएशन amortization इज व्हाट अ कैलकुलेशन, तो अरिथमेटिकल एक्यूरेसी देख लेंगे, है ना. एंड सी स्टूडेंट्स, एक्यूरेसी देखो, डेप्रिसिएशन करेक्ट है या नहीं, amortization करेक्ट है या नहीं, इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन whether the addition deletions with respect to PPE and intangible assets are correct or not, है ना. तो फिक्स एसेट रजिस्टर देख लेंगे. कुछ एसेट्स को ऐसा ना हो कि डेप्रिसिएशन चार्ज करने के लिए कंपनी ने फेक एसेट्स दिखाए गए हैं, तो उसके लिए फिजिकली वेरीफाई कर लोगे. ठीक है. एंड स्टूडेंट्स, इट माइट बी पॉसिबल ना दैट एनी ऑफ द purchases that has been done that was to be charged to P&L, but the same has been capitalized or vice versa. So auditor will see whether the criteria with respect to capitalization given in AS10 with respect to PPE and 26 with respect to the intangible assets, whether that has been met or not. So like more or less same as what we have done in the verification with respect to PPE and intangible assets. ठीक है. So देखो, auditor needs to consider the entity's policy of depreciation and amortization. So this is amortization, this is depreciation. Whether it is as per Companies Act, as per applicable accounting standard, and whether it is applied consistently year on year, and in case of any change, the requisite disclosure has been made. Simple. He will see whether the calculation is correct and whether the residual value has been considered while calculating the depreciation amount and whether it is valid or not. So basically fixed asset register से देख लेंगे ना. Valid का क्या मतलब है कि वो fixed asset, वो PPE या intangible asset actually whether they exist or not. Whether depreciation amortization is accurately calculated, recorded, appropriate period में है या नहीं. Each component should be identified, like if aeroplane is there, है ना. So with respect to the seats, with respect to the belts, with respect to the engines, different rates of depreciation might be charged. So auditor will see whether with respect to each component, the depreciation has been charged the way it is required, and whether the most appropriate depreciation method, that is the basically the method that is adopted, it should reflect the pattern in which the asset's future economic benefits are expected to be consumed by the entity. So whether that method has been adopted by the company or not, so auditor will consider that. ठीक है. Now what are the various audit procedures? देखो, बहुत logical है ना. सो माइंड में सिर्फ एक वो रखते जाओ कि क्या आपको आइडेंटिफाई करना है. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तो अंडरस्टैंड द एंटिटीज प्रोसेस, है ना, ऑफ चार्जिंग डेप्रिसिएशन. फिक्स सेट रजिस्टर देखना है. सो देयर इज अ रिस्क दैट रेवेन्यू नेचर के जो एक्सपेंडिचर है दे माइट गेट कैपिटलाइज्ड, और कैपिटल नेचर के जो एक्सपेंडिचर है दे माइट बी चार्ज टू P&L. सो व्हाई विल कंपनी डू दैट? देखो, इफ द कंपनी हैज एन इंटेंशन टू इंक्रीज द इन्फ्लेट द प्रॉफिट्स, है ना, so what will auditor company do? So if any of the expense of 10,000 is to be charged to P&L, अब कंपनी ने क्या किया, उसको कैपिटलाइज कर दिया, एंड लेट्स से 10% इज द डेप्रिसिएशन अमाउंट, है ना, तो ओनली 10% ऑफ दिस 10,000 इज चार्ज टू P&L, देयर बाय इंक्रीजिंग द प्रॉफिट्स, ठीक है, एंड वाइस वर्सा. सो अब देखो इस रिस्क को कैसे ठीक करना है. सो फॉर दैट ऑडिटर विल चेक द नेचर ऑफ द एसेट्स, ठीक है, इस रिस्क को कैसे मिटिगेट करना है. ऑडिटर विल चेक द नेचर ऑफ द एसेट्स, वेदर एनी फेक एसेट तो नहीं है, एंड हाउ कैन ही डू दैट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द मटीरियल, द एसेट्स व्हिच आर मटीरियल इन वैल्यू, है ना. विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दोस एसेट्स तो ऑडिटर कैन फिजिकली वेरीफाई द एसेट्स. सी, with respect to companies having huge machineries, है ना, and having a number of factories, so verifying all the physical assets might not be possible. So with respect to the assets which are material in value, auditor will physically verify those assets in order to see whether ये सच में capitalize हुए हैं या नहीं, ठीक है. Auditor will obtain a list of all additions, deletions along with the approval. ये देखो, अब ये सारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग ना आपकी PPE, इंटेंजिबल एसेट्स के वेरिफिकेशन से आएगी. वहां हमने देखा था ना कि एडिशन है, डिलीशन है, इट शुड बी अप्रूव्ड, है ना. From the fixed asset register, he'll select a sample based on materiality, and with respect to all those assets, he will verify the depreciation rates कि correct है या नहीं, and the calculation also. Simple. Then he will obtain a list of all components. I gave you example of your aeroplane, है ना. Aeroplane में different rates will be applicable with respect to different components, so whether that has been done. Auditor will verify whether intangible assets are amortized or not, duly amortized, as he is checking with respect to depreciation, ठीक है. Depreciation in accounting should be charged from the, do not look at the module, tell me whether it is from the date of ready to use or put to use. Do not look at the modules. Quickly tell me, ready to use or put to use? Students, with respect to accounting, it is from the date of ready to use, ठीक है. Depreciation on revalued amount should be considered from where? Revaluation reserve, and auditor will also see the depreciation as per the Income Tax Act 1961. देखो, जो depreciation schedule as per Income Tax Act है, उसमें जो additions during the year that are going to be same, है ना. The opening WDV with respect to the tax audit report, he may consider it from the previous year tax audit report, ठीक है. Further, auditor will perform what? Analytical review procedure, that is again the overall reasonableness of depreciation and amortization, and he will see the arithmetical accuracy. He may re-perform various calculations. Auditor will verify ki useful lives, whether these have been appropriately considered as given in Schedule 2 to the Companies Act, whether residual value has been considered while calculating depreciation. In case of any change in useful lives, then depreciation should be computed prospectively. Let's say, for example, with respect to, let's say, diesel vehicles, है ना, पहले the useful life, for example, that was given was, let's say, 15 years, है ना, but now some changes have been done and it has been made to 10 years. तो अब ये retrospectively नहीं होगा. The auditor will verify whether such change has been considered prospectively from the date when it is what? The change has been made, ठीक है. And yes, students are correct, ready to use. देखो, depreciation का definition क्या होता है? Efflux of time. Efflux of time क्या होता है? Passage of time. तो ready to use से ही लगना start हो जाएगा ना. Try to understand everything ना. Efflux of time, usage, obsolescence. तो passage of time मतलब ready to use हो गया तो depreciation लगना start हो गया. ठीक है? ठीक है? Then what are the disclosure requirement? We will see. ठीक है? Now depreciation and amortization. Depreciation, amortization and methods that are used to prorate the cost of a specific type of asset over its useful life. It represents systematic allocation of depreciable value of an item of PPE over its useful life, whereas amortization is systematic allocation of depreciable amount of an intangible assets over its useful life. ठीक है? So these are some general points. Auditor will obtain understanding of entities accounting policy relating to depreciation and amortization. Ensure that the policy is ensure that this is as per Companies Act and applicable accounting standards. Ensure that it is consistently applied year on year. And in case of any changes, the same has been adequately disclosed. Further, depreciation में adjustment of residual value should be made. Depreciation amortization charges should be valid, accurately calculate and record होना चाहिए. In the appropriate period record होना चाहिए. Ensure the components of each item of PPE that are depreciated separately have been properly identified. I gave you example of what? Aeroplane. ठीक है? Whether the most appropriate depreciation method for each separately depreciable component has been used. ठीक है? Now, what are the various audit procedures? What are the entities process auditor will understand? Fixed asset register लेना है. Why? Because there is always a risk कि capitalize कर देते हो revenue nature को in order to increase the profits, or that capital expenditure is directly charged to income to reduce the profit. अब ये कैसे check होएगा? Auditor may choose to check the nature of the asset from fixed asset register, and fake ना हो इसके लिए auditor should physically verify the assets, at least the one that are material in value. All additions and deletions को auditor will see whether authorized personnel से approve है या नहीं. ठीक है? Select the sample of registers from fixed asset register on materiality and verify the rates भी देख लो और calculation भी देख लो. List of all components identify करवा लो management से. Intangible assets के लिए भी देखो whether these are amortized over the period. Ensure depreciation is charged on the assets from the date when it is ready to use and not from the date of actual usage. Ensure depreciation on revaluation amount has been properly accounted for from revaluation reserve. Depreciation computation as per Income Tax Act 1961. So ensure whether additions are tallying with the additions as per Companies Act, क्योंकि additions तो same ही रहने वाले हैं, और opening WDV के लिए auditor may check it from the tax audit schedule of the previous year. Simple. Perform the various analytical procedures like your reasonableness, है ना, recompute करके देख लो depreciation को. Ensure that these are charged as per useful life. The residual value has been considered. ठीक है? Ensure that these have been charged prospectively in case of changes in useful lives. Simple. What are the various disclosure requirements? Very simple. What accounting policy is followed? The useful lives given in Schedule 2 to the Companies Act. Residual value क्या है? Depreciation method क्या है? So the auditor needs to verify whether the disclosure as is required has been made by the company or not, right? So with respect to depreciation and amortization, I hope everything is clear. So our next item of the financial statement is other expenses, which is the last topic for the items of financial statement. After this, various important notes will be left, which we will be doing after this topic. Before starting with this topic, let me just have a look at your queries. Yes, Priyanka, you are correct. See, Dhyanesh, when auditor is checking the financial statement, he is conducting the audit of various items of financial statement. One of the items of financial statement is GST, है ना? तो उसके लिए जीएसटी पेबल है ना, ये देखा ना, सो उसका कॉम्पिटिशन भी तो चेक कर रहे हैं ना. सेम वे वन ऑफ द आइटम्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट इज प्रोविजन फॉर टैक्स और लेट्स से एडवांस टैक्स, है ना. तो ये सब जब आप देख रहे हो, सो इट विल बी व्हाट द डेप्रिसिएशन एज पर इनकम टैक्स एक्ट वहां पे कंसीडर होगा ना. सो ऑडिटर विल कंसीडर दैट ऑल्सो. ठीक है ध्यानेश, इज इट क्लियर? ठीक है. So I hope everything is clear. So useful lives are given in Schedule 2 to the Companies Act, है ना? That these are the useful lives with respect to various assets when depreciation is to be charged. So auditor will consider whether that has been used by the organization or not. ठीक है? So is it clear? Now, next topic, other expenses like power and fuel, rent, repair to building, plant and machinery, insurance, travel, legal, professional and miscellaneous expenses. ठीक है? Now, again, imagine yourself in a situation whereby you are the one of the audit team members. Now, let me just ask you one thing. What are the general points when you are checking all the expenses? आपने P&L उठाया, expenses totaling to 10 lakhs have been incurred during the year. Last year, these were 8 lakhs. ठीक है? You are now verifying these expenses, this figure of 10 lakhs. General points क्या mind में आएंगे? बहुत simple है, देखो. जब हमने assertions discuss किए थे with respect to P&L item, we have discussed all these points. What are the general points? है ना? That you will keep in mind कि अब expenses का audit is going to happen, so I should make sure कि this should not happen or this should happen. Tell me. Dhyanish is saying, man, nature of expenditure, correct. So, Ambika, we were discussing about amortization of intangible assets. जैसे depreciation of PPE discuss किया था हमने, ऐसे amortization of intangible assets. ठीक है, absolutely correct, Varsha. That the expense should be for business purpose. It should not happen कि कोई traveling expense है and the MD and his wife are going for some travel abroad, है ना? It should be for business purpose. ठीक है, और बताओ. ट्रेंड एनालिसिस, ठीक है, लास्ट ईयर से कंपेयर करना है. इन केस ऑफ एनी वेरिएंस द सेम विल बी डिस्कस्ड विद द मैनेजमेंट. ठीक है, ठीक है, जेन्युइन है या नहीं, फेक तो नहीं है. ठीक है, एंड व्हाट एल्स, रेवेन्यू नेचर के ही है ना, कैपिटलाइज तो नहीं होने चाहिए थे. ठीक है, आयुषी सिंह मैम रेंट के लिए रेंट अग्रीमेंट्स को कंसीडर करेंगे, करेक्ट. ठीक है, एंड ऑल 12 मंथ्स का लिस्ट ले सकते हैं ना, चेक कर सकते हैं ना. कोई वेरिएंस है, रीजनेबिलिटी भी देख सकते हैं ना. कोई वेरिएंस है तो मैनेजमेंट से पूछ लेंगे ना. ऑथराइज है या नहीं, अप्रूव है या नहीं, कट ऑफ प्रोसीजर वेदर रिलेट टू द करंट पीरियड और नॉट, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. ठीक है, सो आयुषी टिकट से आई थिंक यू वांट टू से द सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स, व्हिच इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, दैट सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स चेक करेंगे. ठीक है, so with respect to the various expenses, so what are the general points? That the expense should relate to current period, that is cut off procedure, है ना. It should be revenue in nature, not to be capitalized. Valid supporting documents होने चाहिए. Correct expense head. So one of you has said that, ma'am, it should be posted under correct expense, which is correct. And किसी ने और भी कुछ लिखा था, which was also relating to this only. So अभी मेरे को नहीं दिख रहा है. ठीक है, ऑथराइज होना चाहिए, रिलेटेड टू बिजनेस होना चाहिए, पर्सनल पर्पस नहीं होना चाहिए. जनरल पॉइंट्स है ये. ठीक है, नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू रेंट, अब चलो यहां पर आपने एक जनरल बताया मेरे को, अब रेंट का बताओ. द कंपनी हैज पेड अ रेंट ऑफ लेट्स से 1 लाख ड्यूरिंग द ईयर. ठीक है, तो टेल मी क्या डॉक्यूमेंट सबसे पहले आप मैनेजमेंट से लोगे, कंपनी से? So Dhyanish is saying rent agreement, which is absolutely correct. ठीक है, तो देखिए, so month wise schedule ले लो and the rent agreements, whether the rent with respect to all 12 months have been recorded and the amount recorded is as per the agreement. So I put this arrow, मतलब agreement. ठीक है, And student, there is an escalation clause, है ना? That every year, let's say there will be 10% increase in the rent that is been paid. होता है ना ऐसे? That 10% increase या 15% increase होगा. So whether that is there or not, auditor will consider that. The rent agreement should be in the name of the entity and the purpose for which it has been used is the business operations. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए that some guest house has been taken on rent for the personal purpose of the MD, है ना? And that has been charged to P&L. So that should not happen. ठीक है? If you are able to write some other points, you can mention that also. Yes, ठीक है? Compare it with the last year. Compare it with the what other companies in the similar industry, similar area are paying, है ना? ठीक है? Rent, like whatever bank statements are there whereby the rent has been paid through bank channels, auditor will consider that. ठीक है? Now, power and fuel. Power and fuel के लिए क्या करोगे? So again, obtain month-wise schedule and power bills, है ना? Whether recorded for all 12 months. Month-wise summary of what are the units consumed. Multiply them by applicable rate in order to see whether arithmetical accuracy है या नहीं. ठीक है? Then monthly power units consumed है आपके पास and you know finished goods produced. ठीक है? So auditor will see that what is the monthly power units that has been consumed and units of finished goods produced. He will see the monthly trend, है ना? And in case of variance, he will ask the management for the reasons, है ना? For let's say some thousands units of power were consumed and for simplicity, let's say 500 units were produced. In the next month, 2000 units were consumed and 500 units were produced. Then why? What is the reason? है ना? Was there any problem? Like, was this electricity used for some unauthorized purposes? So auditor will consider that. Electricity bill dekh lo, original bill dekh lo, schedule le lo, compare it with the previous year, all 12 months, absolutely correct. Simple hai na ab to ye, theek hai? Insurance expense, theek hai? Summary of insurance policies le lo, whether these are what? Validity period उनका check कर लो. Expense जो है, whether it need to be shown as prepaid. So whether it is paid for the period or is it a prepaid expense that is paid for the next years also. So auditor will consider that because prepaid है फिर आप इसको तो as an asset show करोगे ना. If it is charged for the period, it shall be charged to the P&L. So auditor will consider all that thing. ठीक है? And other points also कि all 12 months का देख लो, premium has been paid, है ना? Everything that you can mention. Legal and professional. चलो इसका बताओ. Legal and professional expenses. Tell me. ठीक है? Legal and professional. So any expense that has been paid to various professionals which have been hired during the year. Send in your replies. Legal and professional. Trend analysis, reasonableness, सब कर सकते हैं. Professional fees, month wise, litigation है तो written representation, schedule of expenses, ठीक है. Students, see, with respect to legal and professional expenses now, there may be certain professionals which have been hired by the company on yearly basis. कि पूरे साल के लिए ना, let's say these are the lawyers. So retainership basis पे on for the entire year they are retained, है ना? तो इनका तो every month certain amount will go. Let's say every month they are paid 10,000. For 12 months 1,20,000 का payment तो इन lawyers को होगा ही, ठीक है? So let's say a total of 3 lakhs. of legal and professional expense has been incurred during the year. Now with respect to this 1,80,000 ना, तो पहले तो ये जो due to the payment that is made to the professionals monthly basis, retainership basis पे पहले आप वो वाला contract check कर लो. Then off and on, as and when there is a requirement, certain professionals are hired. Auditor will consider the payments with respect to them. ठीक है? Now let's say a payment of, out of this, a payment of 1 lakh has been done to certain lawyers, and the case with respect to which such payment has been made to these lawyers, this was not highlighted to the auditor. Neither the company has made any provision with respect to such litigation. Now auditor will apply professional skepticism. Now auditor will be needs to be alert all the time now that why this case was not highlighted to the auditor, why provision has not been made. ऐसे तो नहीं है that there is certain additional liability that needs to be mentioned or a provision that needs to be created. So auditor will consider all that thing. ठीक है? So देखते हैं कैसे. So again obtain a month wise and consultant wise summary, है ना? Consultant wise भी month wise भी. जो monthly retainership agreements में है expenses of all 12 months उसका भी check कर लो. जो non recurring है which is not occurring again and again na, as and when there is a requirement the person has been hired. Select on sample basis and vouch karo and be alert. Vouches check all the documents. What so auditor will apply what professional skepticism, he'll be alert because it might highlight a dispute which has not been highlighted to the auditor. Also the provision has not been made, so auditor will consider that. ठीक है? So let us have a look at this from the module first, then we'll proceed further. तो starting से ही देखें, देखो. With respect to various expenses, auditor will see whether current year कोई belong करते हैं. These should not be capital expenditure, revenue होना चाहिए, supporting documents होना चाहिए, ठीक है? Then correct expense head में होना चाहिए, authorized होना चाहिए, personal expenditure नहीं होना चाहिए, entities business होना चाहिए. The various procedures are rent expense के लिए obtain a month-wise expense schedule along with rent agreements. Whether all months के लिए हुआ है नहीं and underlying agreement के according है नहीं. Escalation clause है, auditor needs to consider that. Name of the entity में आना चाहिए. And whether the expense pertain to the premises used for running business operations of the entity. ठीक है? Power and fuel में again obtain month-wise expense schedule power bills के साथ, recorded for all months. Month-wise summary ले लो, applicable rate ले लो, arithmetical accuracy देख लो. In relation to units consumed, analyze the monthly power units consumed by linking it to units of finished goods and compare the monthly trends and investigate the reasons for variance. Insurance expense. Obtain a summary of insurance policy along with the validity period, whether the expense has been correctly classified as prepaid or expense for the period based on number of days. Legal and professional, month-wise लो, consultant-wise summary लो. Monthly retainership agreements में see all 12 months का correctly recorded है या नहीं. Non-recurring expense में select a sample and vouch, that is check the documents. For the attribute discussed above का क्या मतलब है? यही सारी चीजें आपको डिस्कस करनी है कि agreement check करना है ना? वहां पे month wise तो नहीं आएगा, but consultant wise list तो ले सकते हो ना. You will see whether it has been charged for, what is the agreement, whether it has been correctly recorded or not. 12 months नहीं आएगा. Why? Because it is what? Non-recurring expense. ठीक है? The auditor should be cautious while vouching for legal expenses, as the same may highlight dispute for which entity may not have made any provision and the matter may not have been discussed, highlighted to the auditor for their specific consideration. Simple. Now travel, repair, maintenance. ठीक है? So again, select a sample, vouch is checking the documents, है ना? Summary of expenses on monthly basis पे देखो, compare it with the trends. Expenditure per unit of production check करो. Expense per unit of production, compare it with the previous year industry trend. Case of any variance, ask the management for the reasons. So sample लेना है, vouch the attributes discussed above, like whatever we have discussed above, whether see Just a moment. What happened? See, these things, whether it is relating to current only, revenue होना चाहिए, capital नहीं होना चाहिए, supporting documents, so all these things, ठीक है? Then analytical procedures, overall reasonableness, expenditure per unit of production analysis, है ना? Analyze expense produced compared with the previous year, ठीक है? So suppose you get anything relating to traveling only, तो यू विल राइट ना कि ऑथराइज है नहीं, बिजनेस पर्पस के लिए है या नहीं, बिल्स प्रॉपरली शो किए नहीं, है ना? देन इन केस फॉरेन ट्रेवल, तो फेमा का गाइडलाइंस फॉलो किया, इफ फॉरेन एक्सचेंज इज इन्वॉल्व तो फेमा के अंडर करेक्टली है या नहीं. सो जस्ट डू नॉट लिमिट योर थिंकिंग टू दीज पॉइंट्स ओनली. ये तो आपको जनरल पॉइंट्स दिए गए हैं. अब स्पेसिफिकली फॉर प्रिंटिंग स्टेशनरी आता है. सो लेट अस डू वन थिंग. Just have a look at this point. So this is with respect to, so these are the questions. See, foreign travel expense है, ठीक है? So now if you get this topic, do not get panic कि भाई you haven't done it specifically in your class, ठीक है? Simple है ना, क्योंकि देखो, examine the traveling allowance bill submitted by the employees, है ना? Stating the details of tour, details of expenses, tour program authorized था या नहीं. ऐसे तो नहीं था बीच में इधर भी घूम रहे हैं उधर भी घूम रहे हैं. So tour program should be authorized. जो TA bills हैं, supporting documents होने चाहिए ना, the tickets, the traveling bills, hotel bills, internal rules के accordingly होने चाहिए. See the tour report comply करता है या नहीं TA bill से, ठीक है? Purpose for which it has been done authorized है या नहीं. In case the foreign exchange has been withdrawn, तो RBI का permission था या नहीं, है ना? In case the what is mentioned for the company, for a company, the amount of foreign exchange spent is to be disclosed separately in the accounts as per requirement of Schedule 3 AS 11. Effects of changes in foreign exchange rate. तो whether that has been restated properly or not. देखो समझ आ रहा है? तो ये मत सोचना कि इसको रटने बैठ गए हो एंड देन यू फील कि we got something else. You will be able to write the correct answer with respect to that something else only once you have gone through the module, है ना? So let us just discuss this provision for income tax act. ठीक है? So computation of income tax देखना है. As per income tax 1961 rules के according है या नहीं. Adjustments, expenses, allowance, rebates ये सब check करना है. Examine the relevant records, documents, self-assessment tax other, है ना? Latest applicable tax rate, advance tax check कर लो, ठीक है? Overall provisions check कर लो, advance tax, assessment order, everything. Just a minute. AS 22 with respect to accounting of taxes, like there is a difference now with respect to the income that has been considered for purpose of accounts and for income tax. So consider that, है ना? थोड़ा सा apply your minds. Just a minute. है ना? And you will be able to write the correct answer. ठीक है? So are you able to understand as to how to write? So there was a doubt of a student, I think Sonia was there, who was asking me, ma'am, please tell me how to write the answers. तो ऐसे ही तो लिखने हैं देखो answers. हाँ, absolutely correct. Dhyanish, absolutely correct. Payment of taxes. अब इसमें taxes आए तो every tax you may include ना. So consider that, है ना? Advertisement expenses देखो. अच्छा खुद से सोचो. Do not look at the answers that is given in the book, है ना? Just try to think कि advertisement expense में क्या लिखोगे? Tell me. I want all of you to reply. देखो जो आपका एक्सपेंडिचर है ना, just try to remember the general points that we have discussed. ये तो आप एवरी एक्सपेंस में लिख सकते हो ना, करंट पीरियड के लिए है या नहीं, रेवेन्यू कैपिटलाइज, लाइक कंसीडरिंग कि क्या एक्सपेंडिचर है, सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंट चेक कर लिया, करेक्ट एक्सपेंस हेड में ऑथराइज है नहीं, एंटिटी का बिजनेस है के लिए यूज होना चाहिए, पर्सनल एक्सपेंडिचर के लिए नहीं होना चाहिए. यस, सीक्वेंस तो कैसे भी लिखो ना, सीक्वेंस थोड़ी ना आपको मनीषा लर्न करनी है। बताओ फिर, एडवर्टीजमेंट एक्सपेंस के लिए डू नॉट लुक एट द मॉड्यूल, खुद से सोचो। सो दिस इज योर एग्जाम, you have got the verification with respect to advertisement expenditure and only 5 minutes are left. Tell me क्या लिखने वाले हो। एडवर्टीजमेंट है ना, ठीक है। सो देखो, वेरीफाई द बिल्स इनवॉइसेस फ्रॉम एडवर्टाइजमेंट एजेंसी टू इंश्योर दैट द रेट चार्ज फॉर डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ एडवर्टाइजमेंट आर एज पर द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। See that it relate to the client's business. Receipt issued by the agency. Ascertain the nature. It should be revenue nature. ठीक है। Ascertain the period for which payment has been made. See, prepaid तो नहीं है ना, cut off. So this is talking about cut off. All outstanding advertisement bills have been provided for. That is provision create किया है नहीं। Clear? सो फॉर ऑल दोज हु आर सेइंग मैम कॉन्ट्रैक्ट देखना है, आप ये भी लिख सकते हो। इनकट फॉर बिजनेस पर्पस, दिस कैन बी मेंशन। बिल्स देख सकते हो। कोटेशंस इफ एनी हैव बीन टेकन, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, दैट कैन बी कंसीडर्ड। ठीक है। नेचर ऑफ एक्सपेंडिचर, हाँ ठीक है, दैट इज कैपिटल है, रेवेन्यू है ना। ध्यानिश, यू वांट टू से दिस ओनली, है ना। इन गोमती सिंह, वेदर इनकट फॉर बिजनेस पर्पस। Namrata is saying whether it relates to the entity. Absolutely correct, है ना। So उसके लिए what all audit procedures you will form? Verify the bills, the invoices from advertising agency, है ना। Then whether the with respect to expenses में तो आपका prepaid है या नहीं, provision अगर आपको लगता है create होना है, so consider all that thing. ठीक है, is it clear? ठीक है। So with this we have finished all the items of the P&L in the P&L account also. And what are disclosures? The disclosures are left. So it ensure that expenses have been classified under as, so under various heads like rent, insurance, power and fuel, repairs, maintenance, legal and professional, printing, stationery, travel, miscellaneous. So everything should be disclosed in this way. Okay. Now these notes are left, which are very, very important. ठीक है। The questions that I have uploaded, उसमें भी I have given you some notes on these topics. First of all, tell me whether you all have downloaded those notes. 10 to 12 marks, 10 to 20 marks, Danish, like so far as the last 4-5 attempts are concerned. ठीक है। Tell me, have you all gone through the questions that have been uploaded? Quickly, students, send in your replies. So, Pranav, why not? Till now, why not? Okay. So others are saying they have downloaded the question. So we will do one thing. After we will take a break of 10 minutes here. After the break, I'll be starting with these notes. There are 6 notes which are really very, very important. Okay. And after that, if there is any doubt, I'll be taking upon that query. If you want me to revise any topic, I'll do that. But only 1 or 2 topics can be revised, not the entire chapter. And then depending upon the time, we'll be discussing the various questions. Okay. So in the last session, I have already asked you to send in your queries with respect to the questions, because discussing all the questions won't be possible today. Hana? Though I have also uploaded what the answer sheet, whereby answers to all the 25 MCQs, your case scenarios and descriptive, so we'll be discussing in the class. So with respect to MCQs and case scenario, the answers have been mentioned. Okay. So in the class, please download the questions. So break me download kar lo na. Okay, otherwise I'll be sharing them on the screen. So quickly send in your replies in case you have any doubt and in case you want me to revise any topic with you. Okay, so we will take a break of 10 minutes here. After the break, we'll be starting with these notes, which are really very, very important. So students, welcome back after the break. So I can see there are certain doubts. So Varsha is asking me to explain the disclosure with respect to undisclosed income. Varsha, I hope this is the topic that you want to me discuss again. So I'll do that. Okay. And with respect to Dhyanesh is asking me the name of SA 265. So Dhyanesh, it is communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with governance and management. Okay. And Varsha, your doubt will be resolved. And yes, Dhyanesh, with respect to the investment company, it will be what? Revenue from operations. Okay. So I hope your doubts are clear. Now, with respect to these notes, Hannah, which are very, very important. Notes with respect to 6 points, corporate social responsibility. Then there are certain provisions or amendment with respect to what rounding of figures, Hannah. Then details with respect to benami property held by the company, relationship with struck-off companies, the various ratios that are to be disclosed that were not required earlier, and details with respect to cryptocurrency or virtual currency. Okay. So with this, with the amended Schedule 3, Hannah, which was applicable with effect from 1st April 2021, Hannah. So these are the various additional information that the company were required to disclose by themselves. Okay. So first is with respect to corporate social responsibility, and I think Hojima was asking me to discuss the last year question papers. So after discussing these notes, after going through the topic of undisclosed income as is requested by Varsha, then we will be discussing the last year question papers. Okay? So corporate social responsibility. So when we'll be discussing the last year question paper now, so your doubt as to how to answer the questions will be resolved. Okay? Corporate social responsibility. So where a company which is covered under Section 135 of the Companies Act. Section 135 relating to what? Corporate social responsibility. So these companies shall be required to disclose. So this is what shall. Disclosure karna hi hai with regard to various CSR activities. So Schedule 7 gives a list of various CSR activities that such companies which are covered under Section 135, they need to incur certain expenditure on the CSR activities. So what all are the disclosure requirement? So amount required to be spent by the company. Okay? Let's say it was, 1 CR. Amount of expenditure incurred during the year, let's say 70 lakhs were incurred. So kitna actual में spend किया? Shortfall at the end of the year. टोटल ऑफ प्रीवियस ईयर शॉर्टफॉल, अगर लास्ट ईयर्स के भी शॉर्टफॉल थे, सो 30 लाख तो इस ईयर का शॉर्टफॉल हो गया, लेट्स से 30 लाख लास्ट ईयर का भी शॉर्टफॉल था, तो टोटल ऑफ प्रीवियस ईयर शॉर्टफॉल्स कितना हो गया? 30 लाख आपका लास्ट ईयर, लेट्स से लास्ट 2 ईयर्स का था. ठीक है. व्हाट इज द रीजन फॉर शॉर्टफॉल? The nature of CSR activities, whether it is with respect to certain education promotion or certain hospital services that has been provided. Details of related party transaction, example, contribution to a trust controlled by the company in relation to CSR expenditure as per relevant accounting standard. Ki related party, for example, the company has incurred any CSR expenditure, it has donated some amount to a trust which is controlled by the company itself. So ye related party transaction ho gaya na. So the company needs to disclose that. And if a provision has to be made, the company has, let's say, entered into a contractual obligation that we will be donating so much amount within a period of so much years, okay? So many years. So if there is a liability out of any contractual obligation, then the provision will have to be made. Then the company is required to show the movements in the provision during the year. Like was the opening provision, any addition to the provision, or the reversals that have been made during the year. So a very, very important disclosure with respect to the companies covered under Section 135 है ना, corporate social responsibility के लिए कि कितना खर्चा करना था, उसमें से कितना कर दिया during the year, कितना shortfall था, total of shortfalls of the previous years also, reason क्या है shortfall का, और nature of CSR activity क्या था. G point is related to whether you have entered into related party transaction. I gave you example ki trust which is controlled by the company itself, usi mein agar CSR expenditure kar diya, then what is the detail, and the provision if any is to be made with respect to liability on contractual obligation. Is it clear? ठीक है. And students, you may get a direct question, है ना. तो अब जो आपका डाउट होता है कि मैम कैसे लिखना है, जो ये सामने लिखा हुआ है यही तो लिखना है. ठीक है. ऑब्वियसली मतलब आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि क्रैम ऑल दिस थिंग, बट अब आपको पता चाहिए, यू ऑल नो ना दैट कितना एक्सपेंडिचर वाज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी डन बाय द कंपनी ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, हाउ मच एक्सपेंडिचर वाज एक्चुअली इनकर्ड, शॉर्टफॉल कितना था. तो ऑल दीज थिंग्स विल बी रिक्वायर्ड टू बी मेंशन ना, है ना. 3 मार्क 4 मार्क क्वेश्चन स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड, कोई भी नोट्स है ना स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन आ सकता है आपका. एडिशनल इन्फॉर्मेशन, रेगुलेटरी इन्फॉर्मेशन क्या मेंशन करना है कंपनी को, व्हाट ऑडिटर नीड्स टू वेरीफाई, है ना. एंड यू विल सी दैट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दीज क्लॉज एंड द क्लॉजेस दैट विल बी कवरिंग इन कैरो 2020, है ना. तो इन दोनों टॉपिक में से आपको डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन आ सकता है कि ऑडिटर को क्या वेरीफाई करना है कैरो 2020 में, है ना, या यहाँ पर मैनेजमेंट को क्या डिस्क्लोज करना है. ठीक है. Where a provision is made, so point number H, Piyush, I'm repeating it. Where a provision is made with respect to liability incurred by entry into a contractual obligation, the movements in the provision during the year should be shown separately. So where the company, let's say it has entered into a contractual obligation with any, let's say, trust, that we will donate, let's say 2 lakhs. 1 lakh in this year, then 2 lakh in the other year. So a provision is required to be created for that liability now, because it has arisen out of what contractual obligation. So the provision addition that is made during the year. So the opening of the provision, any addition, or if it is paid, then the reversal that is made during the year, that needs to be shown. Okay? Is it clear? Notes to accounts. ध्यानेश, इन नोट्स टू अकाउंट्स, है ना. बैलेंस शीट में जो डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट है वो तो हमने देखा कहां पर, आपके जो डिस्क्लोजर्स हैं, दीज आर व्हाट द इंफॉर्मेशन दैट इज टू बी गिवन इन द नोट्स टू अकाउंट्स. क्लियर? Now this is very simple, that is, this is basically relating to what? Rounding off. So depending upon the total income of the company, the figures appearing in the financial statement shall be rounded off as given below. Agar less than 100 crore rupees hai, then to the nearest of hundreds, thousand, lakhs or millions or decimals thereof. Rounding off kisme hoga? Hundreds, thousand, lakhs, millions, decimals thereof. If 100 crores or more hai, more than equal to 100 crores है, then nearest of lakhs, millions, crores or decimals thereof. और जो भी आपने सिस्टम फॉलो किया है, यूनिट ऑफ मेजरमेंट दैट हैज बीन फॉलोड, इट शैल बी यूज्ड यूनिफॉर्मली इन द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. सिंपल है ये. ठीक है. ठीक है. पीयूष, इज योर डाउट क्लियर? एंड ध्यानेश, इज योर डाउट ऑल्सो क्लियर? सो सिंपल. ठीक है. नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू डिटेल्स ऑफ बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी हेल्ड. अब टेल मी व्हाट इज मेंट बाय बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी. बताओ, बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी क्या होती है? So Ayush is saying clear, Dhyanish is saying clear. Piyush, you also tell me whether your doubt is clear or not. And uske baad tell me what do you understand by benami property. Quickly students, I need answers. Benami property क्या होती है? Quickly send in your replies. बिना नाम की प्रॉपर्टी, Ayushi is saying, which is not in the name of the company, which is absolutely correct. ठीक है? So where with respect to a company, the person's own name is not used or name of any fictitious person is used. है ना? बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी, है ना? So basically to park the black money, है ना, अपने नाम पे नहीं खरीदी है, किसी भी फेक पर्सन, फिक्टिशियस पर्सन के नेम पे if any property has been purchased. So देखो, this disclosure requirement is so important. अब ये क्या कहता है डिस्क्लोजर कि कंपनी अगर आपने ऐसा कुछ किया है ना दैट यू if any proceedings have been initiated against the company or any proceedings are pending against the company for holding any benami property, if the company is holding any benami property, मतलब कोई प्रॉपर्टी है जिसमें पैसे लगाए बट दैट इज नॉट हेल्ड इन द नेम ऑफ द कंपनी, है ना, and if there are any proceedings which have been initiated under the benami transactions prohibition act 1988, तो अब कंपनी को खुद से ही बताना है कि देखो भाई हमने बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी हेल्ड की थी, the details of such property including the years of acquisition, the amount thereof, details of beneficiaries. If property is in the books, then reference to the item in the balance sheet. If property is not in the books, then the fact that shall be stated with the reasons. Where there are proceedings against the company under this law as an abettor कौन होता है? Initiator, ठीक है, of the transaction or transfer, then the details thereof, ठीक है. नेचर ऑफ प्रोसीडिंग, स्टेटस ऑफ द सेम एंड कंपनीज व्यू ऑन द सेम, कि कंपनी क्या कहना चाहती है कि आपने बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी हेल्ड की, अब आपको कैसा लग रहा है, द कंपनीज व्यू ऑन द सेम. सो जोक्स अपार्ट, सी दिस disclosure requirement is going to have such a great impact on the goodwill of the company, reputation of the company. The shareholders, after reading these kind of information, they are definitely going to take now the informed decisions. अब उनको पता है ना पैसा कहाँ जा रहा है ना. So a very important disclosure requirement, we will have a look at it again. Details of benami property held, है ना. तो if any proceedings have been initiated or are pending against the company, तो अगर during the year कोई initiate हुई है या कोई pending भी है, पुरानी चलती आ रही है, for holding a benami property under benami transaction prohibition act 1988 and the rules made thereafter, the company shall disclose the detail of the property including the year of execution, ठीक है, details of such property, amount कितना था, कौन beneficiaries हैं. अगर आपने उस प्रॉपर्टी को फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में प्रेजेंट किया, देन व्हाट इज द आइटम ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट रिप्रेजेंटिंग दैट प्रॉपर्टी, एंड इफ इट इज नॉट रिफ्लेक्टेड, देन व्हाई यू हैवंट रिफ्लेक्टेड अलोंग विद द रीजंस, क्योंकि पैसा तो आपने लगाया ही था ना. इफ द प्रोसीडिंग्स आर देयर अगेंस्ट द कंपनी एज एन अबेटर कौन होता है? जो किसी को उकसाए कोई भी बेनामी ट्रांजैक्शन करने के लिए, इनिशिएट करने के लिए. और एनी ट्रांसफर कि आपने ट्रांसफर किया है, तो अभी ट्रांसफर ही नहीं हो, ऊपर तो ट्रांसफर ही था ना कि कंपनी इज होल्डिंग एनी बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी. यहां पर क्या है, आपने इनिशिएट किया कोई ट्रांजैक्शन या आपने ट्रांसफर किया, लाइक कंपनी ने ट्रांसफर किया, देन व्हाट आर द डिटेल्स, द नेचर ऑफ द प्रोसीडिंग, द स्टेटस ऑफ द सेम एंड द कंपनीज व्यू ऑन द सेम विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द अबव, द नेचर ऑफ प्रोसीडिंग्स, द स्टेटस ऑफ द सेम एंड द कंपनी व्यूज ऑन द सेम. ठीक है. Now if you ask me that ma'am how to write the answer, so if you get a question that during the year you saw that there is an order with respect under the benami transaction prohibition act 1988 and where the company has been there is a proceeding pending against the company, so what all disclosure requirements, तो यही सब तो आएंगे point number A to G. ठीक है, is it clear? ठीक है, इज इट क्लियर? देखो, तो शेयर होल्डर्स वुड बी इंटरेस्टिंग इन नोइंग ना कि पैसा तो आपने लगाया है बट इट इज नॉट इन योर नेम, बाय सो, है ना. करेक्ट प्रणव, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. इज इट क्लियर? तो अभी हमने क्या क्या डिस्क्लोजर देखा? कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, ठीक है, देन राउंडिंग ऑफ से रिलेटेड था एंड देन डिटेल्स ऑफ बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी हेल्ड. ठीक है. Now relationship with struck off companies. Tell me, what do you understand by the term struck off companies? Another important. Yes, Dhyanesh, to park the black money. है ना, पैसा तो है ना. Any like any purpose can be there. ठीक है, किसी रिलेटिव के नाम पे, एमडी के रिलेटिव के नाम पे ले ली, डिस्टेंट पर्सन के नाम पे या फिक्टिशियस पर्सन के नेम पे ले लिया, तो दैट इज व्हाट बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी. नाउ टेल मी स्ट्रक ऑफ कंपनीज. स्ट्रक ऑफ कंपनीज. आयुषी, यू आर समवॉट करेक्ट. तो देखो, with respect to certain companies which are not having any functions during the year, है ना? So their names are struck off from the names of registrar of companies, and such list is there on the MCA website कि ये जो companies है ना, now their names have been deleted, removed, struck off कर दिए गए हैं from the list of the companies. ठीक है? So under section 248 of the Companies Act 2013 और 560 of the Companies Act 1956, है ना? अब आप ये देखो, अगर कोई कंपनी है जिसका नेम हैज बीन स्ट्रक ऑफ फ्रॉम द रजिस्ट्रार ऑफ कंपनीज, दैट इज अब ये कंपनी एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती है, लेकिन योर क्लाइंट कंपनी is having certain transaction with such company. For example, your company, your client company is ABC Limited. It has a debtor in its books with the name of M Limited, जिससे let's say 100 or 100 lakhs 1 crore आपको लेना है, ठीक है? Now the name of M Limited has been struck off from the list of registrar of companies कि अभी कंपनी एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती, struck off क्योंकि इसमें कोई फंक्शनिंग नहीं था, based on the various conditions that the various requirements as required by ROC, the name of this company has been struck off. Now tell me, should the shareholders know this information कि company has to obtain 100 lakhs from a company which is now not in existence as such, the name has been struck off from the register of companies, है ना? So the management itself has to give such a disclosure. So what are the disclosure requirements? With the company, your client company is having any transaction with the company struck off under section 248 of the Companies Act, then what is the name of the company? What is the nature of transactions with struck off companies? Is it investment in the securities? Are they your receivables or they payables? Or there are shares held by struck off company in your company or other outstanding balances? What is the balance outstanding? And what is the relationship with the struck off company? That is to be disclosed. है ना? Why? देखो बाप, this is a risky situation ना. Your funds, these are, see if anything was receivable, तो अब ये तो बैड डेट हो गया ना, 100% बैड डेट, और एनीथिंग वाज पेएबल, नाउ इट इज नॉट पेएबल, है ना? सो अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन दैट इज टू बी गिवन टू द यूजर्स ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट, है ना? ठीक है, ठीक है. So you may get a question that what are the disclosure requirements with respect to what is the additional information that the companies are required to give with respect to their relationship with the certain struck off company, or during the course of audit when you were going through the various documents and analyzing the trade receivables, during the course of audit you found that one of the trade receivable M Limited, from whom 100 lakh was recoverable receivable, and when you visited the MCA website, you found that the name of M Limited is there under the names of the struck off companies under section 248 of the Companies Act. So what are the disclosure requirements that the company shall disclose with respect to such transactions? So these, what is the name of the company M Limited? What is the nature of transaction receivable? What is the balance outstanding 100? Relationship with struck off company, it is, the relationship can be, the MD of the company is the director in that company also. So what is the relationship that is to be disclosed also? So this is talking about struck off company disclosure only. So students don't get confused by writing ki other companies के लिए भी disclosure. ये struck off company का है जो section 248 of the Companies Act में struck off हो गया. आप MCA की website पे इसका list देखोगे आपको मिल जाएगा कि कौन कौन से companies का name has been struck off. If your client is having any transaction with such company, then the company is required to give such disclosure. ठीक है? So इसीलिए तो ध्यानेश मेंशन करना है ना, अब कहाँ से पैसा आएगा या अब किसको पैसा दोगे, तो इसीलिए तो डिस्क्लोज करना है ना, है ना? द शेयर होल्डर शुड बी एबल टू नो कि कहाँ फंड्स ब्लॉक हो गए हैं या कहाँ फंड्स अब नहीं पे करने हैं. सो दे शुड बी एबल टू नो दैट. इज इट क्लियर ध्यानेश एंड खोजेमा? Now, following ratios are to be disclosed. A very, very important disclosure. देखो, earlier such disclosure of 11 ratios was not required, है ना? So all these ratios will help the users, it will readily provide the users with the information with respect to various ratios, with respect to the risk, the profitability, the liquidity of the company, है ना. पहले ये सब नहीं होता था, but अब readily available है ना investors को कि अच्छा this is the financial performance of the company. So the company, the management will be required to calculate all such ratios, give the information, and whatever are the numerator and denominator in these ratios, that information will also come. And if in these ratios, if compared to the last year, there has been a change of more than 25%, right, as compared to the preceding year, then the explanation for that shall also be provided. So let us have a read at it. So following ratios like current ratio, debt equity ratio, debt service coverage ratio, return on equity ratio, inventory turnover ratio, trade receivable turnover ratio, trade payable turnover ratio, net capital turnover ratio, net profit ratio, return on capital employed and return on investment. एक तो ये रेशियो आपको बताने ही है. Plus the company shall explain the items included in numerator denominator for computing the above ratios. अगर आपने current assets and current liabilities का ratio निकाला है, then what all you have included in current assets, what all you have included in current liabilities. Further explanation shall be provided for any change in ratio by more than 25% as compared to the previous year. So agar the change, be it plus or minus, if it is more than 25% as compared to the preceding year, the explanation shall be provided for such a drastic change. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? Okay. So I think students, you will be studying all these ratios in your chapter ratio analysis in your financial management subject. Hana? There you can see what all formulae are there with respect to various ratio. And the last disclosure is details of cryptocurrency or virtual currency. So acha ratios ke liye you may get a direct question that what are, let's say, name the 5 ratios and name any 5 ratios that are to be mentioned, or maybe the 11 ratios, and what are the disclosure requirements. So numerator bhi batana hai, denominator bhi batana hai, more than 25% ka koi change hai from the preceding year, then explanation dena hai. Simple. Cryptocurrency, tell me. Cryptocurrency के बारे में सुना है, what is it? Students, if you want me to discuss the last year papers, the question answers, certain topics, तो फिर quickly answer करो. So this is what? Electronic currency. So these are as such not issued by any bank. है ना? So cryptocurrency और virtual currency, electronic currency, आपने बिटकॉइन से सुना होगा. बिटकॉइन सुना है? So yes, Bitcoin, Mohammed Vora is saying, Ayushi is saying on digital currency, absolutely correct. So where the company has traded or invested in cryptocurrency during the financial year, these following information needs to be mentioned. So what are these? Profit or loss on transaction involving cryptocurrency or virtual currency. What is the profit or loss? Amount of currency held at the reporting date. Simple hai na? Deposits or advances from any person for the purpose of trading or investing in cryptocurrency or virtual currency. So these are the 3 disclosure requirements कि कितना आपने profit या loss कमाया during the year. So Dhyanesh, no, you are not right in whatever you are writing. Amount of currency held as at the reporting date, and the deposits or advances from any person for the purpose of trading or investing in cryptocurrency or virtual currency. Okay? So yes, this is a unregulated sector, digital currency, है ना? Regulated नहीं है, but the government may come out with various, laws relating to cryptocurrency. ठीक है? Yes, electronic currency, absolutely correct, Priyanka. This is not issued by a bank. Yes, Litecoin, Bitcoin, absolutely correct. ठीक है? Is it clear? So such disclosure requirement is to be given. ठीक है? So with this, we have covered all the additional information that is to be given by the company itself. ठीक है? Now let me just take you through another note. Students, अभी ना बहुत कुछ important discuss करना है, so be with me and keep on interacting as I'm asking you the various questions. So 9.87, just a minute. It was, I think, I forgot the name of the student, Varsha. So with respect to, so this is what point of other income. तो other income का disclosure simple है, schedule 3 part 2. इंटरेस्ट इनकम को सेपरेटली शो करेंगे, डिविडेंड इनकम को सेपरेटली शो करेंगे, नेट गेन लॉस ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट को अदर शो सेपरेटली शो करेंगे, एंड अदर नॉन ऑपरेटिंग इनकम को माइनस द एक्सपेंसेस डायरेक्टली एट्रीब्यूटेबल टू सच इनकम उसको अलग से शो करेंगे. सिंपल है. वर्षा, इट वाज योर डाउट ना, है ना? नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू अनडिस्क्लोज इनकम, सो ये क्या है? देखो, अगर कंपनी ने कोई इनकम को कंसील किया था अंडर द इनकम टैक्स एक्ट, है ना, रिकॉर्ड्स में उसको बुक ही नहीं किया है, कोई एसेट है जो शो ही नहीं किया था, है ना, बट अंडर द सर्च और सर्वे अंडर द इनकम टैक्स एक्ट का असेसमेंट, सच इनकम वॉज सरेंडर्ड और डिस्क्लोज्ड. जब सर्च या सर्वे हुआ तब कंपनी ने उस इनकम को वो सरेंडर किया. नाउ द कंपनी इज रिक्वायर्ड टू मेंशन बाय इटसेल्फ कि ये वाली अनडिस्क्लोज इनकम थी हमारी, एंड नाउ वी हैव प्रॉपरली रिकॉर्डेड इट इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स ड्यूरिंग द ईयर. तो देखो, कंपनी की रेपुटेशन पे बात आ जाती है ना, दैट कंपनी ने कौन सा इनकम कंसील किया था, है ना. एंड नाउ द कंपनी इज रिक्वायर्ड टू डिस्क्लोज बाय इटसेल्फ कि what is mentioned here, the company shall give details of any transactions not recorded in the books of accounts that has been surrendered or disclosed as income during the year. ठीक है? Unless there is immunity for disclosure. So I have told you that if there is certain voluntary disclosure scheme, है ना, income tax department की voluntary disclosure scheme होती है, whereby the assessees are asked to disclose their undisclosed income. एंड इफ अंडर दैट स्कीम अगर वो खुद से डिस्क्लोज कर देते हैं वॉलेंट्री डिस्क्लोजर स्कीम में, तब यहां पर मेंशन करना जरूरी नहीं है. यहां पर कब मेंशन करना जरूरी है? जब सर्च सर्वे या टैक्स असेसमेंट में आप जाकर सरेंडर करते हो, क्योंकि वहां पे इनकम टैक्स ऑफिसर ने आपका कोई इनकम ऐसा पकड़ लिया, नाउ यू आर सरेंडरिंग इट. ठीक है? लेकिन अगर वॉलेंट्री डिस्क्लोजर में है, जो इम्यूनिटी स्कीम ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट होती है, वहां पर आप जाके करते हो, तो दैट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू बी डिस्क्लोज्ड. ठीक है? इज इट क्लियर वर्षा? इज इट क्लियर? सो देखो प्रियंका, आई रिपीट दिस बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी वाला पॉइंट ऑल्सो. बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी क्या है? जो कंपनी के नेम पे इट इज नॉट हेल्ड इन द नेम ऑफ द कंपनी और इट इज हेल्ड इन द नेम ऑफ एनी डिस्टेंट पर्सन. ठीक है? अब अगर कंपनी ने ऐसा कोई प्रॉपर्टी होल्ड किया था एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट एनी प्रोसीडिंग्स अंडर द बेनामी ट्रांजैक्शन प्रोहिबिशन एक्ट 1988 हैज बीन इनिशिएटेड ड्यूरिंग द ईयर अगेंस्ट द कंपनी, या कुछ भी पेंडिंग है, तो कंपनी को खुद से, मैनेजमेंट को खुद से ये डिस्क्लोज करना है इन द नोट्स टू अकाउंट्स. क्या डिस्क्लोज करना है? कि कौन सी प्रॉपर्टी थी, कब लिया था, कितना अमाउंट था, कौन बेनिफिशियरीज थे, किसके नेम पे था. If that property has been shown in the book, then which item of the financial statement कहां पर इंक्लूड किया, और अगर आपने बुक में नहीं शो किया है, then the fact shall be stated with reasons also. If you were not, if the company was an abater, that is जो इनिशिएट करता है कोई ट्रांजैक्शन, किसी इंस्टिगेट करता है किसी को कि ये ट्रांजैक्शन करो, या खुद से ट्रांसफर कर रहा है कोई बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी, तो उसका भी डिटेल्स मेंशन करना है. ठीक है? नेचर ऑफ प्रोसीडिंग्स, कहां पर पेंडिंग है, स्टेटस क्या है, कंपनी का क्या व्यू है कि हम इसमें जीतेंगे हारेंगे, क्या प्रॉब्लम है, एवरीथिंग विल बी, द कंपनी विल गिव इट्स व्यू विद रिस्पेक्ट टू बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी. ठीक है? बताओ, क्लियर है? ठीक है? ध्यानेश, योर डाउट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू सेक्शन SA 265, आई होप इट इज क्लियर. ठीक है? Communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with governance and management. ठीक है? वर्षा, is your doubt clear? Priyanka, is your doubt clear? ठीक है? ठीक है? With respect to the various ratios, to students are asking me the formula with respect to all the ratios. So आप financial management में देखना, like for the purpose of this topic as such, all the ratios, discussing all the ratios will not be possible ना. ठीक है? Now let us have a look at the past year questions, है ना, and For all those who are saying, ma'am, how to answer ना, बहुत easily समझ आएगा how to answer and you'll be able to have confidence also. So question number 3 का B part, I need all of you to reply. This is May 2022 examination question paper. ठीक है, suggested answer. So just have a look at this point. Question, I'm not able to write. Question number 3, point B. Question B. Question number 3 and B topic. So B Limited is covered under section 135 of the Companies Act 2013, that is corporate social responsibilities. What matters other than the amount spent, amount not spent, amount required to be spent shall be disclosed by the company with regard to CSR activities done by the company. देखो 4 mark question है, straightforward question है और आधा आंसर तो दे ही दिया, amount spent, amount not spent, amount required to be spent, है ना. So what shall be disclosed? अब देखो for all those who are saying ma'am how to write, अब देखो ये बी लिमिटेड के लिए क्वेश्चन है ना, सो कैसे लिखोगे आप, देखो B Limited, since B Limited is covered under section 135 of the Companies Act, the following matter shall be disclosed by B Limited with regard to the CSR activities. Total of previous year shortfalls. अब यहां से क्यों स्टार्ट किया है, because if you remember यहाँ पे क्या दिया हुआ है, amount spent. Apart from this, तो amount spent, not spent तो हमें बताना ही नहीं है ना, हमें क्या बताना है फिर, total of previous year shortfalls, है ना, reason for shortfall, nature of CSR activities, है ना. I hope you all are able to read it. ठीक है. Details of related party transaction, that is contribution to a trust controlled by the company in relation to CSR expenditure, where a provision is made with respect to liability incurred by entering into contractual obligation, the movements in the provision during the year should be shown separately. ठीक है, वो पूरा नोट, ठीक है, ये किसने लिखा, आयुषी ने, बट देखो वो पूरा नोट भी नाउ बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड इन द क्वेश्चन, तो वहां पर क्वेश्चन में बोल दिया है कि ये वाला दोनों ए एंड बी पॉइंट्स नहीं हमने पूछे हैं, बिकॉज वो कह रहा है ना, अपार्ट फ्रॉम अमाउंट रिक्वायर्ड टू बी स्पेंड, एक्चुअली स्पेंड एंड नॉट स्पेंड, ये तीनों पॉइंट्स ऑलरेडी क्वेश्चन में दिए हुए हैं ना, अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट सो ऑल दीज पॉइंट्स विल कम. ठीक है, अमाउंट स्पेंड वगैरह नहीं लिखना ना. देखो स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ पर क्या लिखा हुआ है, I always ask you to read the question carefully. Extra लिखोगे क्या फायदा ना उसका, other than amount spent, A वाला point. Just a minute. Other than amount spent, amount not spent, amount required to be spent. तो ये तीनों points तो A B C है ना, amount required, amount of expenditure incurred, shortfall, ये तीनों other than है ना, then D onwards, all these points will come. ठीक है. अब किसी को डाउट है कि मैम आंसर्स कैसे लिखने, ऐसे लिखने आंसर्स, इसमें क्या कुछ रॉकेट साइंस है ना. नाउ हैव अ लुक एट दी क्वेश्चन नंबर बी, क्वेश्चन नंबर 5. So it was a just let me just, so a 4 mark question and so easy marks. Question number 5, B point. See, proceedings have been initiated. So I'm reading here. Proceedings have been initiated against Falls Limited for holding benami property under the Benami Transaction Prohibition Act and the rules made thereunder. But such property is not recorded in the books of accounts. As a consultant to the company, what will you advise to the company as far as disclosure requirements are concerned? तो अभी आप auditor नहीं हो, अभी आपको क्या बोला गया है? You are a consultant जो financial statement के preparation में भी help कर रहा है. So what are the disclosure requirements? Again, a 4 mark question, straightforward question, है ना? So where any proceedings have been initiated against the company for holding any benami property under this, so details of such property, ठीक है. Amount thereof details. If it is not in the books, then the fact shall be stated with reasons. अब देखो, इसी को कहते हैं ना स्मार्ट रीडिंग. यहां पर क्वेश्चन में क्या मेंशन्ड है? It is already mentioned in the question that this is not disclosed in the books of accounts. Go through this again. But such property is not recorded in the books of accounts. It is specifically mentioned here ना. तो जो आपका ये वाला पॉइंट है, just a minute. Now benami property से related. If the property is in the books, so you will not mention this point ना. If it is not in the books, ये आपको information दे दिया गया है ना, तो you will mention this point. ये वाला point will not come, है ना? So let us have a look at the answer. The company shall disclose the details of such property, amount thereof, details of beneficiary, if it is not in the books. ठीक है. If it is in the books, वो नहीं आया है, लाइन आइटम की बात नहीं किया है. Where there are proceedings against the company as an abator or transfer, then details, nature of proceedings, status of the same, company's view on the same. सिंपल है, समझ आ रहा है, थोड़ा थोड़ा कॉन्फिडेंस आ रहा है. Students, I want all of you to reply. Now let us have a look at December 21 exam. ठीक है. Now here question number 3B part. C. CAR is the statutory auditor of QRS Limited. While performing testing of additions during the year, he wanted to verify that all PPE are in the name of the entity he is auditing. For all additions, so ये किसकी बात हो रही है? Testing of additions to PPE. ठीक है. For all additions to land and building in particular, the auditor desires to have confirmation about ownership, and the auditor wants to know whether the entity has a legal ownership right with respect to PPE, where it is kept as security for any borrowings. तो आपका additions के लिए है ना, all the procedures are asked point wise. ठीक है. And this is again, see, advise the auditor on the audit procedure to be undertaken by himself to establish rights and obligations of the entity over PPE. A direct 4-mark question, इससे इजी क्वेश्चन नहीं हो सकता. ये तो आपको मार्क्स ना प्लेट में रख के दे दिए गए हैं. So rights and obligations of PPE. So in addition to procedures undertaken for verifying the completeness, additions to PPE during the period under audit, CAR, the statutory auditor of B Limited. So this is the way how to write the answer. Provisions तो आपको पता ही है, but related to the question. While performing test of addition, should verify that all PPE purchase invoice are in the name of the entity that entitles legal title of ownership. ठीक है. और लैंड के लिए क्या देखते हैं? कन्वेंस डीड या सेल डीड, है ना? तो कन्वेंस डीड या सेल डीड. फर्दर इफ अगर आपका इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी कहीं बोरोवर्स के पास है, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तो ही लास्ट फॉर व्हाट? ओरिजिनल डीड. इफ इट इज विथ एनी बोरोवर, देखो यहाँ लिखा है ना, इन केस द एंटिटी हैज गिवन, आई एम रीडिंग द 4th point. In case the entity has given such immovable property as security for any borrowings, the original title deeds are not available. CAR, the statutory auditor of B Limited, should request the entity's management for obtaining confirmation from the respective lenders that they are holding the original title deeds of immovable property as security. इसमें क्या issue है? कितना simple है ना? In addition, the auditor should also verify the register of charges available with the entity to assess that any charge has been created against the company. ठीक है. So Alok is saying, मैम थोड़ा नहीं, full confidence आ रहा है. So that is what is required. अच्छा, प्रणव is saying, मैम हमसे भी तो पूछो. ठीक है. तो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछते हैं C point. हाँ, ये वाला बताओ, ये आज कड़ा है किया ना. क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 C point. देखो ये 4 मार्क का क्वेश्चन था, अब ये 3 मार्क का क्वेश्चन है. Profit and loss, C point, बताओ. Profit and loss of an organization shows various types of expenses like rent, power, fuel, repairs, maintenance, insurance, traveling, miscellaneous. These are essential and incidental to the running of business operations. What are the various attributes that an auditor generally prefers? General points पूछे हैं आपसे for vouching these type of expenses. देखो ये तो लिटरली ये तो बहुत ही इजी क्वेश्चन है। एक्चुअल में आपको इस चैप्टर, अगर ये चैप्टर का क्वेश्चन आता है, इट एक्चुअली मीन्स दैट आपको बोल दिया गया है कि देखो बहुत सिंपल है, क्विकली से आंसर करो, क्विकली से मार्क्स लो और पास विथ फ्लाइंग कलर्स। अब बताओ प्रणव, आई एम वेटिंग फॉर योर आंसर। प्रणव इज सिंह मैम, हमसे भी तो पूछो। बहुत सिंपल है, बुक में मत देखना, आज ही तो डिस्कस किया है जब मैंने आपको बताया था कि ये जनरल पॉइंट्स हैं, कोई भी एक्सपेंडिचर यू नीड टू कंसीडर, तो ठीक है। वाई रेंट वाला नोट विल कम आयुषी। नेचर ऑफ एक्सपेंडिचर, कैपिटल है, रेवेन्यू है, वेदर रिलेटेड टू बिजनेस है नहीं, सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स देखेंगे, यही सब तो देखोगे ना। रेंट, इसमें क्या बोला है, प्रॉफिट लॉस अकाउंट्स ऑफ एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन शोज वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ एक्सपेंसेस, तो स्पेसिफिकली रेंट के लिए तो पूछा ही नहीं गया है ना। What are the attributes an auditor generally prefers for vouching these types of expenses? तो स्पेसिफिकली थोड़ी ना रेंट के लिए पूछा है जो आप रेंट के लिए आंसर लिखोगे। अरे यार आप let me just show it in the module. Wait. So these, whether expenditure pertain to the current period under audit, whether expenditure is qualified as revenue expenditure, सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स है या नहीं, करेक्ट एक्सपेंस हेड है ना, ऑथराइज है या नहीं ना, एंटिटीज बिजनेस से, जनरल पॉइंट्स पूछे ना। देखो क्वेश्चन में सिंपली स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड लिखा तो हुआ है। जस्ट अ मिनट, see let us read this question again. Profit and loss account of an organization shows various types of expenses like rent, power, fuel, repairs, maintenance, insurance, traveling, miscellaneous, that are essential and incidental to running of business operations. ठीक है? What are the attributes that an auditor generally prefers for vouching these types of expenses? चलो अब आंसर देखते हैं, ठीक है? When an auditor may choose to analyze monthly trends for expenses, an auditor generally prefers to vouch for other expenses to verify following attributes: whether the expenditure pertain to current period, whether expenditure qualified as revenue or capital and not as capital, whether the expenditure has valid supporting documents, whether it has been classified under the correct expense head, whether the expenditure was authorized as per delegation of authority matrix, whether the expenditure was in relation to the entity's business and not for the personal expenditure. है ना, देखो रीड करना कितना इंपॉर्टेंट है ना मॉड्यूल को, ठीक है। नाउ लुक एट द डी पॉइंट। सो स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड देखो, 10 मार्क क्वेश्चंस B, C, D. Question number 3, B, C, D, and all the 3 questions, straight questions, absolutely scoring, free marks. Like I'll call them free marks. How is cash and cash equivalents disclosed in the financial statement as required under Schedule 3, Part 1 to the Companies Act? सीधा सीधा तो पूछा हुआ है आपसे, ये देखो. Disclosure of cash and cash equivalents in the financial statement. So regarding cash and cash equivalents, ensure whether the following disclosures as required under Schedule 3, Part 1 to the Companies Act have been made. Cash and cash equivalents shall be classified as balances with banks, checks, drafts on hand, cash on hand, others. Earmarked funds है ना, reserved for certain categories with banks shall be shown separately. For example, what? Unpaid dividend. Balances with banks to the extent held as margin money, securities, guarantees. Repatriation restriction, remember, when the foreign currency is to be converted into INR. So if there are any restrictions in respect of cash and cash bank balances shall be stated separately. Bank deposits with more than 12 months maturity shall be disclosed separately. बताओ इसके अंदर आपको क्या समझ नहीं आ रहा कि क्या कैसे लिखना है? ऐसे लिखना एंड कितना इजी है। हाँ, अगर आप बोलो मॉड्यूल भी नहीं पढ़ना, लेक्चर भी नहीं सुनना, फिर भी अच्छे मार्क्स आए, फिर दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल ना। सेशंस को यू नीड टू वॉच दी सेशंस अटेंटिवली, वंस ट्वाइस, है ना, जैसे भी आपको समझ आता है। यू नीड टू गो थ्रू द मॉड्यूल। you need to read in between the lines. You may get any MCQ, any true false, any case scenario question, any descriptive type question from the lines that are mentioned in your module. And you will get a question from the module. है ना? Exceptions are always there, but आपका 90%, 95% ऑफ द पेपर तो यहीं से आने वाला है ना. तो मॉड्यूल को आप कैसे छोड़ सकते हो? मॉड्यूल को तो रीड करना ही पड़ेगा. स्टूडेंट्स, बिफोर प्रोसीडिंग फर्दर, टेल मी, समझ आ रहा है? So I've tried my level best to simplify this chapter. देखो वर्षा, you are asking me again and again whether to make notes for each and every chapter. तो वर्षा, it depends upon you. आपको कैसे कंफर्टेबल लगता है? मॉड्यूल से रीड करना कंफर्टेबल लगता है, अपने नोट्स बनाना कंफर्टेबल लगता है, हाईलाइट करके कंफर्टेबल लगता है, समराइज करना कंफर्टेबल लगता है? फॉर दिस चैप्टर स्पेसिफिकली, विच इज ऑफ 114 पेजेस आई थिंक, है ना? एंड है ना, हाँ, 114 पेजेस. आई हैव आस्क्ड यू टू समराइज बाय या की वर्ड्स, बिकॉज एक तो लेफ्ट साइड पे एम्पल ऑफ स्पेस इज गिवन एंड दिस इज अ बिट लेंथी चैप्टर. So when at the time of examination you are revising your syllabus, then if you have some bird's eye view kind of summaries, that are going to help you in quick revision. So इसलिए I'm asking you to invest your time at this moment, prepare summaries, जिससे कि आपको easy in remembering also. It will help you in remembering also. ठीक है? With respect to other chapters, Varsha, it totally depends upon how how you are comfortable. And in order to revise, the revision capsules are there on the BOS knowledge portal. I hope you all are aware with respect to various chapters, which gives a bird's eye view of the chapters, beautifully drawn flowcharts, and the revision is given beautifully in those capsules. So you must refer to them. Yes, करना पड़ेगा हार्ड वर्क. आलोकी सिंह मैम, बहुत हार्ड वर्क करना पड़ेगा. Yes, Khojema, you are absolutely correct. So that is why I'm saying that 10 to 20 marks का भी आपका ये चैप्टर हो सकता है. ठीक है? Now let me just take you just a minute. So let me just take you through the case scenario. MCQs तो हमने लास्ट सेशन में डिस्कस किए थे ना, तो केस सिनेरियो है ना. Quickly be with me, read this case scenario. So this is the case scenario. So NSE and Associates have been appointed as the statutory auditors of Moon Limited for the financial year 2021. It is a company engaged in manufacture of two-wheelers. During the year under audit, the company has issued share capital at a premium of rupees 5 per share. CA Naveen, the engagement partner, asked one of the audit team members to verify such issue of shares at premium. Further, CA Naveen also asked the audit team to give special consideration to the classification of reserves as revenue and capital by the company during the financial year. In order to obtain audit evidence as to overall reasonableness of purchase quantity and price of raw material, the audit team scrutinized the raw material consumed as per manufacturing account and compared the same with the data of previous year. The audit team also sent the direct confirmation request letter to trade receivable having significant balances at the end of the year. Further, the audit team also analyzed the employee benefit expense incurred by the client during the year under audit. Okay? The securities premium account, so write 1 and the answer, can be used by Moon Limited for various purposes except one of the following. Identify the same. Okay? In writing of the preliminary expenses towards issue of unissued shares of the company, for purchase of its own share other securities under section 68 to be used as working capital. So except one. So which one is not correct? Quickly send in your replies. The securities premium account can be used by Moon Limited for various purposes except one of the following. Identify the same. So absolutely correct. This is the wrong. Which of the following is an example of revenue reserve? Securities premium, CRR, general reserve, all of the above. Is an example is not नहीं पूछा है. Quickly, so students send in your replies. So the answer is what? Is an example is general reserve. ठीक है? ठीक है? Now the third point. Confirmations as well as undelivered letters should be given return to the auditor and not to the client. With respect to what? Confirmation. When no reply is received, the auditor should perform alternate procedures regarding the balance. So only statement 1 is correct, only statement 2 is correct, both 1 and 2 are correct, both 1 and 2 are incorrect. Second ka, almost all of you have answered it correctly except for one student. That particular student, please check your answer. It is not D, it is C. And also with respect to first ka, only one student is incorrect, so it is not A, है ना? आपने पता है A क्यों लिखा होगा? Because आपने क्वेश्चन ठीक से रीड नहीं किया यहाँ पर. आपने पक्का ये सोचा होगा that कौन से पर्पस के लिए यूज हो सकता है. आपने देखा राइटिंग ऑफ प्रिलिमिनरी एक्सपेंस, तो आपने इसको मार्क कर दिया. So read this question carefully. ठीक है? खोजेमा, यही रीजन है क्या? So with respect to this, both the statements are correct. ठीक है? Read answer to this fourth and fifth question. In order to obtain the audit evidence as to overall reasonableness of purchase quantity and price of raw material, which of the following procedure is the audit team performing? Is it consumption analysis? Is it direct confirmation procedure? Is it written representation, or is it observation? Students, please reply. I'm waiting for your replies. So it is consumption analysis, है ना? So पहले देखो तो क्या प्रोसेस था वो? Raw material consumed as per manufacturing account को comparing the same with the data of the previous year. So this is what consumption analysis. Okay. So fifth is A. Now the last question. Which of the following is considered as employee benefit expense? Is it consideration paid to the employees for their effort or labor, perquisites and post-employment benefits, expenditure towards hiring, welfare training, or all of the above? Consumption analysis को mark किया मैंने A को इधर. So this is what? Question number 5th answer is what? All of the above. ठीक है ना? Is it clear? Now let us just discuss few descriptive type questions. So ये तो direct question है ना? आप देखो question number 5th. So we will not be able to discuss all the questions, है ना? तो ये discuss करते हैं. देखो, CA Saurabh is the statutory auditor of UVW Limited for the financial year 2021. While verifying the purchases made by the company, CA Saurabh decided to perform, देखो, analytical procedures to obtain audit evidence regarding the overall reasonableness of purchase quantity and prices of services. What all analysis should CA perform? अब इसका आंसर बताओ मेरे को, लिख के दो. क्या आपको लगता है? There are 3 points that needs to be covered in this point. So for all those who got 5 out of 5, congratulations. Keep it up. Keep going. Start keep studying. Keep working hard. ठीक है? 5th का आंसर बताओ क्या आएगा? Quickly send in your replies. तो ये देखो इन्वेंट्री की बात हो रही है ना, देखो कंजम्पशन एनालिसिस आएगा और क्या आएगा? स्टूडेंट्स आई नीड योर आंसर्स. अभी तो बुक भी है आपके पास, ये कोई एग्जाम नहीं है ना. मैंने आपको हमेशा बोला कि नहीं समझ आ रहे, ओपन दैट पेज, है ना. एंड इनफैक्ट व्हेन यू विल ओपन दैट पेज ना, वो टॉपिक नहीं भूलेगा आपको कभी भी. अब ये डायरेक्टली नहीं पूछा कि कंजम्पशन एनालिसिस, स्टॉक कॉम्पोजिशन, ये सब बताओ. तो जस्ट अ मिनट. ट्रेड पेएबल, इंटेंजिबल एसेट्स, हाँ करेक्ट. पार्थ सारथी, यू आर करेक्ट. नहीं, ये तो परचेजेस में होगा ना. जस्ट अ मिनट. लेट मी जस्ट टेल यू द पेज नंबर. So it is what? Just a minute. Students, please tell me the page number, है ना, जिसने correct answer दिया. Stock composition. So it is in purchases. Just a minute. Yes, page number 9.91. Actually, I'm having both the modules now. So just a minute. Yes, page number 9.91. Relating to So see, perform analytical procedure to obtain what? Audit evidence regarding the overall reasonableness of purchase quantity and price, consumption analysis, stock composition analysis, ratios, है ना, ये सब आएंगे. ठीक है. So I've always told you not to write what? General answers as such. ठीक है. Then go through, just a minute. Cash and cash equivalence आपको आता है. Go through this question. Question 15th. Read question number 15 and 16. So this is with respect to PPE का ownership, है ना, जो क्वेश्चन अभी हमने लास्ट ईयर क्वेश्चन पेपर में भी देखा ना, काइंड ऑफ दैट ओनली, है ना. दैट इनवॉइसेस देखोगे, प्रॉपर्टी के लिए आप कन्वेंस डीड, सेल डीड देखोगे, देन यू विल सी ओरिजिनल है नहीं है, तो आज द कंपनी टू ऑब्टेन व्हाट, द कंफर्मेशन, है ना, वो वाले सारे पॉइंट्स। 16th क्वेश्चन क्या है? द स्टडीमेट लिमिटेड इज अ कंपनी engaged in manufacture of stationery items. The company sells its goods on credit. The debtors as on 31st March 2022 amounted to 10 CR. What is the disclosure requirement with respect to aging schedule? तो सिर्फ aging schedule ही आपको ड्रॉ करना है, ठीक है? ठीक है, आर यू एबल टू आंसर इट करेक्टली और नॉट? समझ आ रहा है ना? अब ये देखो, कैपिटल वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस with respect to PPE and disclosure requirements. You have given disclosure requirements, additional regulatory information that the company should mention with respect to the title deeds of immovable property not held in the names of the company, है ना? Then intangible assets under development, undisclosed income, है ना? So any such question might come. ठीक है, और अपने चैप्टर हमने बहुत डिटेल में पढ़ा है, ठीक है, तो जनरल आंसर्स तो लिखने नहीं चाहिए वैसे आपको, है ना, बिकॉज वी हैव डन दिस चैप्टर इन डिटेल 6 सेशंस, है ना. सो let me just have a look at your queries. And students, I'm looking at your queries. Meanwhile, please send in your replies whether you have understood or not. And after the end of the session, please fill in the feedback form. ठीक है, प्लीज सेंड इन रिप्लाई, समझ आया है चैप्टर, कॉन्फिडेंस आया है या नहीं, ठीक है. एंड इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन which is day after tomorrow, we'll be starting with chapter number 10, है ना, and there we have a topic of CARU 2020, which is again really very important examination point of view and practically also. And your knowledge of chapter number 9 is going to help you a lot in understanding that topic. So before coming for the next session, please go through all the additional regulatory information and the disclosure requirements. वैसे तो you should have gone through the entire chapter before coming for the next session, but specifically for that वो तो करना ही, ठीक है, read करके आना. See, Alok, I have discussed the answers. Why? Because we are short of time. I wanted to discuss the questions, ठीक है? And Alok, if you want na, please answer to, so students, this is the last question for today. And Alok, I need you to reply now. So go through question number 11. And students, please let me know whether you have understood. Question number 11 also, please go through. Meanwhile, I am going through your queries. Pranav, you should get full marks in the entire subject. ABC and Associates are the statutory auditors of PQR Limited for financial year 21-22. While briefing the team about the audit plan and audit program, CA Pranav, the engagement partner, asked one of the team members, Mr. Rohit, to check if the company has made appropriate disclosures with respect to trade receivable. What all should Mr. Rohit check in this regard? तो बताओ अब क्या क्या आएगा? Alok, please send in your replies. So this is the last question for today. Yes, Mohammed, you are correct. Students, I want all of you to reply to this question, question number 11, which is the last question for this chapter. And in case of any doubts, if any doubt is still there, next session maybe आप discuss कर सकते हो, though we'll be starting with chapter number 10. See, disclosure की बात हो रही है. Question number 11 में, Alok, I am waiting for your reply. CA Pranav, the engagement partner, asked one of the team members to check if company has made appropriate disclosure. तो डिस्क्लोजर बताना है ना आपको, इंश्योर, ये सब एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन, सेल्स इनवॉइस, ये सब क्यों आ रहा है, जीएसटी रिटर्न्स वगैरह, बताओ प्रणव. खोजे मत, डिस्क्लोजर बताना है, प्रेजेंटेशन एंड डिस्क्लोजर बताना है. टेल मी. check in this regard is as to whether disclosure has been made appropriately or not. So what are the disclosure requirements? So Alok, please send in your replies. So let me just take you through that topic. हाँ, absolutely correct. ये आएगा देखो. Let me just show it to you. So these are the disclosure requirements. ये वाला सारा. ठीक है? Correct. ठीक है? So I hope students this chapter is clear to you, and in case of any doubt, if it is still there, next session we can always discuss. Okay? And as I've asked you to go through the module in entirety, practice these questions that I've asked you, practice at least 2 or 3 descriptive type questions by writing. Before coming for the next session in chapter number 10, your understanding of chapter number 9 will be required. So please go through the module. Okay? And before ending the session, please also send in your replies whether you have understood or not. Okay? Because I've tried my level best to simplify this chapter. है ना? So please do replies. कुछ confidence आया है इस chapter में. ठीक है? So thank you for giving me the extra 7 minutes. Go through the questions and then come for the next session. ठीक है? So thank you and good night.